Good evening, Barbados. Good evening, the Caribbean. Good evening, the world. This is Marcia Weeks, and I am coming to you live from Barbados. It is the Marcia Weeks show, and we are ready to go. Oh my goodness. And you're on. People are on. It never ceases to amaze me how early people are connecting to the show. This is a place of education. It's a place of motivation, mobilization, and agitation, not just for Barbados, but for the entire Africa and the African diaspora. We are all about learning, all about education, understanding who we are, etc., etc. And it's just been an amazing time. Suspicious minds, thank you for joining. Thank you so much for joining. Oh, thank you, Tam. Marcy, good evening. And she says, I appreciate your coverage of this neglected topic of the cost of living crisis in Barbados, and giving a voice to people often too ashamed to ask for help. I will be tuning in from London for part two tonight. I know. Listen, you know how I know my UK people are watching, and my those in Europe. We will leave. We leave the live, and it's like 1,000 and something, and then by the time you get up in the morning, the numbers are doubled or sometimes tripled. And I was telling somebody today, that's the UK people. Because they're sleeping now, right? And then they get up and they watch. So, Marcy, thank you so much. So she logged on at 2:30 p.m. today, which would be for them about 8:30 in the evening. And she is sleeping now, and Marcy is going to get up and watch the program. That is awesome, because we are being educated. And as she said, it's a topic that we're dealing with again tonight. We're going to be looking at the high cost of living um, here in Barbados. This is a topic that a lot of people don't necessarily want to talk about, because sometimes a lot of us, we feel a little ashamed about it, right? But this is a place where we're talking, and Barbadians are coming on to the program and they're talking about it. Queen B says enough is enough. That's correct. Enough is enough. And I tell you something, with what we see happening, regardless of the government. Ansel, good evening, Ansel from New York. Good evening. Ansel, there are people who say, this is too much of a political show, etc. We're talking about cost of living, and they're claiming it is political, right? It's a political show that they can. So who are the people that are supposed to make the policies? Who are the people? It's a government that's made up of politicians, okay? So the politicians make the policies so that we could move out of poverty. That's how it's supposed to go. Yeah, it's a government policies that are created to engender that spirit within the country that will cause us to be able to come out of poverty. The policies are important, and therefore you have to talk about politics in order to get that happen. Anthony Oliver, good evening, good evening, good evening. Junie Rock, how are you doing, Junie Rock? A blessed. Someone should ask me if she eat ramen and corned beef. If not, she's not. I don't know. I don't know if she eats that. But there are lots of Barbadians eating that, and it's very unhealthy for us. And we're going to talk about that tonight. Really where it leads and why we're having the problems at the QEH. We're going to see all of that, right? Loyal daughter says, like up the show, like up the show, like up the show. And she says, good night, loyal opposition, fall in line. We are not afraid. The winds of change are howling throughout our land. Can anybody hear it? I can hear it. Let's keep on keeping on. Victory is ours. We taking it back. Yes. And I hope there are Barbadians ready to come on to talk tonight about what they're going through. They are depending that we're going to suffer in silence. They are depending that we are going to do that what they think is the Barbadian thing, and we're going to suffer in silence. No, no, no. We are forming a community and we're educating ourselves. Anybody on here learned something new last night about how our neighbors and our communities are coping? Anybody learn anything new on here last night? I learned about the people who are finding ways of, they go and they buy a $1 worth of flour. Anybody knew about that? I had no idea that people were going to the corner store and asking for $1 worth of flour. And as a lady who came on said, people are buying one onion and they get one Maggie cube and they break open the thing. I guess it has two packs of spaghetti, and they open it and sell one. That they're selling the things in pieces. Oh, anybody knew that? I knew that they're selling like 2 pieces of chicken. I had no idea. Yeah. Somebody says corned beef and biscuits. Mm-hmm. Yes. Judy Jilks. Hey, Judy Jilks says, welcome to the loyal opposition. Marcia, Dave Caswell, Ferdinand Rose, Maxine Kimar, Glenn, and also the 2 loyal guests. Like and share. Good night. Love the Marcia Week show. Judy Jilks. Oh, wow. We have a great group of panelists. Aren't they awesome? Come on, people. Give it up. Listen, they are awesome. They are so well researched. And last night was so amazing with Caswell. It was like we were in college learning about workers on contract versus those who are employed, right? And it was a very, very great. Miss McLean came on and talked about the school leavers and the job opportunities, etc. And you know, Mr. Glenn Murray, he came on and he sucked it to them again with the NCF, asking a lot of pertinent questions. I mean, we have an awesome panel. Now, as I said earlier, we've got to let Mr. Franklin rest. And he said to me, Marcia, I am tired. So he is resting, and we're going to see him again on Friday. All right. So Monday and Sundays and Fridays. Okay. Sundays and Fridays. We have Mr. Franklin with us, and Kimar is on a break, even from his own show. He says he's going to take a little break, and he will back with us late August. All right. So and everybody, it's summer, people taking break, they're traveling with their families. Ferdinand Nichols is also traveling as well, and getting a break. So normally you would see him here on a Monday night, right, Reverend? I don't know if he will call in tonight, but if he's still in the island, but he's taking some time with his family. As you know, when I wasn't here in earlier in late mid-July, that he was on for every single night. So he's taking a little break, and he will be back with us in September. He told Dr. Ferdinand told me, he says, I'm off from everything else. However, if you need me for the show, I am right there. And I'm trying my best not to call him because he's so diligent and committed. I want him to get his rest. Okay. So we miss Kimar, and we will see Caswell again on Friday. Okay. To everybody, Maxine will be on Sunday. All right, wonderful. Monica Inns, good evening, and our Rose Corbin that comes on with all these very deep things. What was it again? Bumbala. Oh my goodness. So she's going to be on a Friday night. Okay. Blessings, Lucinda. How are you, Lucinda? Lucinda, tonight we are talking about the cost of living and how we are coping with the cost of living here in Barbados. We're asking people to come onto the program at about 9:00 tonight, and to share with everybody. Okay. And Peter King, good night. Good evening. Cecilia Miller. Teronio Hall says, good night, Marcia, and the loyal opposition and the loyal family. Rains of blessing. Yes, we had a lot of rain today, and we are not afraid. Grand rising right through. Yes, very, very good. Yes, yes, yes. Good to see everybody on, and I can't reach out to everybody tonight because hey, it's the anthem time. I'm past the anthem time. But Romeo Hinkson, good night. Dale Reel, good night. Callie B, good night. Good night, folks. Good night. Good night. Good night. Wonderful to see Pauline. Hey, Pauline Maynard. How are you on? Merton Cumberbatch, Nat Grant. Look at me. I'm saying I need to get off of here, and I'm still calling out everybody because it's really a joy to see you. And when we're going to march again? When we're going to do our roadside parliament? You all ready? You think we're ready? We're ready for the roadside parliament? Oh my goodness. Esther Blue. Hey, how you doing? How are you doing? Marcia, you are watching live in London and it's midnight. Oh my goodness. She says it's really hot here, but I've been looking forward to this show all day. Blessings to everyone. Marcia, you are up. You should be sleeping. Good night, Nigel Newton. Don't we miss Nigel Newton on the show? We need him to come back on. I know he has some things he's preparing for us. Rosemary Allen, good night. Good night, Adrian Bascom. Good night. Bim the Beautiful. Good night. Yes, 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 yes. Oh wow. Noel, good night. I think Sandra Brewster is trying to tell me something here. I'm not sure what she's telling me. 250 pounds, salt and flour. Not sure, Sandra, what you're trying to tell me. What? I didn't hear the response from Wilfred Abrams. About what? Can you tell me what that's about? I don't know. I was busy studying today, preparing for tonight. Yes, Dale Worrell, good night, good night. Yes, this is the people, yes. This is our show. Yes, Carl Lewis, good night, good night, good night. Sonia Perch, good night. Listen, I took the time to call as many of your names as possible because this is about you, it's about your show, and we have been going so fast over the last couple of nights that we haven't been able to do so. So I'm really, really happy that we're able to do that tonight, okay? All right, so let's go right into the anthem. So we're going to go right into the anthem now. And again, I'm going to ask you again, as everybody's been asking, to share and to like. Important that we do that. So we're working together for our country. Let's stand to the national anthem.
Right.
Yes, people, strict guardians, strict guardians, strict guardians of our heritage. And that's what we're doing. We're seeking to preserve what is ours. And I know there is a video that is going around, and we are seeing how God has blessed Barbados according to this video. And not just according to this video, because it's something that we have been hearing about, Barbados, that we are unique, and talking about the oil that we have offshore of Barbados in the east, close to where I live there. Can you believe that? I mean, and those are blessings that God has blessed us with, natural resources that are ours, we've been given that. And as we talk about the high cost of living, we have to find other ways, that is going to help to boost the economy, because a lot of people, people are suffering. And I'm going to touch on that. Yes, people. So anybody seen the video about the oil that has been circulated? Yes, it's about the oil, and I have a little bit just to say about that tonight. And of course, I'm trying to get somebody who is professional, somebody in the energy sector, to come on the show. It's very difficult to get professionals to come on. People are scared of their jobs, and scared of this and scared of that. So people are saying no, they haven't seen it. So we're going to show. We're going to show a little bit of that tonight. Before the show is up, we're going to look at that. Okay. Suspicious mind. Oh Lord, you really have a suspicious mind, but you are so correct. The oil may be a blessing, but depending on which government is in control determines how the people will benefit. Suspicious mind, move to the front of the class. Come up to the front of the class, suspicious minds, because that is what's been on my mind today. And we're going to talk about that a little later in the show. But for right now, let's look at, continue to look at the high cost of living, and let's look at what's driving the prices. Okay, let's look at what's driving the prices. And we are here again, Barbados high cost of living crisis. And we are at part 2. We see the ramen on one side, and we see the corned beef on one side. And look who is in the middle. Look who is in the middle. And it's because it's real, that I was reading the manifesto today, the 2022 manifesto, which I was hoping to go through some of that today, tonight with you. And we may still be able to do that. And there's so many things, majority of what they have promised in that manifesto, what Mia Mottley's government have promised the people of Barbados when in that 2022 election manifesto, it's not manifested in this country. It was a majority of it was a gimmick. We were sold a lie trying to get our votes. But let's look at specifically at the high cost of living and what's driving it. Let's go to the next slide and let's look at what's driving. Why are prices rising? Why are prices rising? And the big word that we hear all the time is inflation. Inflation. What is inflation? It's an increase in prices and a fall in purchasing power. So what we're experiencing right now is an increase in prices and a fall in purchasing power, which is inflation. What are the causes of inflation? And this little part's a little academic, but we're not gonna spend too long. But it's good. We always do some education on the show, right? There is what is called demand pull inflation, and this is when the demand for goods and services exceeds the available supply of these goods and services. All right. So when we are demanding goods and services, in Jamaica, there's scarcity there. Okay. And so that is going to drive up the price of the goods and services. Is that what's happening in Barbados? Let's look at it. Let's talk about it. Demand pull is that is inflation occurring because we're demanding goods and services, and we don't this our demand is exceeding the supply. Is that what it is? Cost push. And this is where, from the supply side of it, the cost of the supply, it's high, so it's coming from that end of it. And then the third one, and that's putting it simply. Then there's inflation expectations, and which happens if we believe that there's going to be inflation, then that can cause inflation as well. Okay, so we need to look at to see what is actually happening. I was speaking to an economist today, and I said to him, but the inflation rate is only, they said it's only 4%. He says, but Marcio, that's at a macro level. And he says it's the average. It's the average. And it's at the macro level, but that's not at the level of individual level, at a micro level, at a personal level, at a household level, right? That's not, because we are feeling it. We are seeing that the prices, there's an increase in price and there's a fall in our purchasing power, but they're trying to tell us, no. But look at the inflation rate. This is what the central bank has put out. But what they didn't tell us is that is at a macro level, right? Right. But when we look at it at the level of us individually, as a family, as a household, that's not what we are experiencing. Okay. Yeah. So now let's go to the next slide. And let me say here, Jeannie Motley, come to the front of the class. It's a cost push. Cost push is one of our main problems. You're correct. What are the main inflation drivers in Barbados? It's what is called, what I learned today from the economist, imported inflation. Connecting again with the cost push inflation. That is what we are experiencing in Barbados. Imported inflation, meaning it's the price of goods that we import from overseas. So once we are getting high prices overseas for goods and services, then for goods, mainly our goods, it means that it's going to be passed on to us, right? So that is what is called imported inflation. Okay. And then there is the increased shipping and freight costs, because again, we said we're experiencing a cost push inflation. So it is increased shipping and freight costs of these goods that are coming in, because we import what? I mean, they said it's over 90% of what we eat where we import of our food and lots of other things, our clothes, our furniture. I mean, we import. So the shipping and the freight costs, those are drivers, inflation drivers. The third thing, government taxes and duty, right? And then we have the domestic elements of costs, like the wages, etc. All right. We're going to, if we look at those four drivers there that drives up those that are driving up the cost. Okay, so the government got the imported inflation drive up the cost, increased shipping and freight costs, government taxes and duties, domestic elements of costs, example wages, etc. These are four factors that help to drive up the prices in Barbados. The question is, which of these four factors that could be controlled here in Barbados? Yes, Michelle. Which of these four can be controlled, that we can control? Things happen in life, some things that you can control, things you can't control. What can we control here? Let's go to the next slide. Think about it. Let me see who is going to tell me what we can control. Number 3, correct. It's me. Oh man, come to the front of the class. It's me. Yes, Jeannie. Taxes, the government taxes. Yes? Yes. So those are that's what we can what can be controlled in Barbados. The taxes. The taxes. And that's why in the newspaper today, did you see from the BCSI, where there's a James Clark, and if anybody knows how I can get hold of him, he was saying, why are you blaming the retailers? Government, what? Carrie Simmons, why are you blaming the retailers? There is something that you can do. VAT, let's look at VAT. Wasn't it the same government that said to us in the manifesto? I read it today in the manifesto. The BLP manifesto says that they were going to reduce VAT. Who remember that? Yes, thank you, Jabbar Darndell. Yes, good. Yes. Listen, who remember about the reduced VAT that was promised to some of you that got the red shirt? And you went and you voted for this government because they put it in their manifesto and they told you that they were going to reduce VAT. And you said yes. And they said it on the podium and they waved the red cloth and they sing the songs and they do all, and they fed you. They give you free food and free fat. And they said VAT coming down. Hasbro remember? Huh? Hasbro, remember, they said 15%. They're bringing it down to 15%. It is still 17.5%. They have done nothing. No such thing. So when they are going to blame just the retailers about the high prices, it's deceptive. It's a farce. Because the government that cares about us, there are some things that they can control. They can control the excise tax on especially the imported petroleum products. They can do that. And they did a little something. You remember, they did something, but they said it would only last for 6 months. I did not get a chance to see if it is still going. But based on what I read, they said it was only 6 months. Now, if we're suffering so much and people are going to the shop to buy $1 worth of flour, and we come on the show and we are speaking about it, and people are going to look at us and tell us that it's political and we should not blame the government, and we can, when this is something that they can control. We have never been taxed like this in this country ever before under any other government. And people went along with it because they said that they were doing something good for the country. The import tax, the duties are so high. You ever try to have a business in here and talk about you bringing in stuff, you're going to bring stuff in to sell? My goodness, sometimes the duties are 30% of the cost. Sometimes the duties are 100%. It's prohibitive. And those are the costs. Those costs are being passed on to Barbadians. So you see how deceptive Carrie Simmons is? You see how deceptive they are? This Mayor Motley administration? To only be blaming the retailers? By the time it gets to them, they're barely putting a markup. But you look online and you see, but this is so cheap online. But what happens when it comes in? What about the duties? What about all of the taxes? They have collected more taxes from us than any other government in the history of this country. Can we see what they are doing for it? So much taxes, and we're still hungry. I'm going to the store to buy one onion. Huh? This is what is happening in our Barbados. Let's go to the next slide, please. I went off into this slide already. The plan to lower VAT to 15%. They said that they're going to do a price management committee. That was in their manifesto. The BLP manifesto filled up with broken promises. Broken promises. Where is the price management committee? You go ahead and you say these things on a platform, and you think that we're foolish enough. In fact, a lot of you foolish enough to run behind them. They very well, somebody said, did they get permission? Listen to me. They very well knew what they were doing. They knew that they could not reduce the VAT, but they opened their mouth. Remember that this country, this government, they told us that they contacted the IMF and they were in deliberations with the IMF before they got into power. You're going to tell me that they don't know that we're going to have austerity measures being put in place? Yeah. Yes, Skylar, they gave us a lot of long talk, Skylar said. Where's Skylar's comment? A lot of long talk, and a lot of people bought it. Yes? A lot of people bought it. Look at that. Jeannie Motley saying that the VAT is charged at the port and at every stage it passes. We need them to tell us what is happening with all of these taxes. If you are collecting more taxes than we have ever in the history of this country collected, and you are in more debt than any other government, huh? How much money you need? So okay, we are in more debt than in at any time, any other government, right? We are borrowing from everybody. We're borrowing from, right? Our foreign debt is high. I'm gonna come on here and lay it all out for us. Because we are educated people, Barbadians. I'm telling you, we are educated people. And I don't understand why we should be running behind these people there, where they go and they fill up our head with all kinds of nonsense. Yeah. Yes, somebody said that she remember, and she said to her hubby, we will see if it happens because of their sweet mouth. Where is the price management committee that you said that you're going to have? You got the votes and you said, give me the vote and watch you. And we watch you take most of our income in taxes. I started to write down some of the taxes. I wonder if you can help me. I didn't get all of them, but you put down in the comment section. We're doing this thing together tonight. You put down in the comment section for me what the taxes are. We have the sewage tax, right? The people in Barbados that even don't have a sewage system paying taxes. Huh? And all we're doing about it is commenting about it. There are people in here now have no sewage system and paying for taxes. Huh? People in here that have to even pit toilet. Every man jack have to pay sewage. once you're paying the water bill. There's a COVID tax, you remember? They say everybody have to pull the weight. COVID tax. There's a land tax. Do you remember? This is another broken promise from the BLP manifesto. They promised us that the first $400,000 in property of land, right, would be exempted from land tax. Who remember that? Let me see. Who remember that? The first 400,000 would be exempted from land tax. You remember that? Not done. After, by the second time they went in, they brought it up to say 300,000, and these little tricksters says that they will give us a 400,000 in 2026. There are a set of deceivers. Cell phone tax. There's property tax. Property tax, if you're selling, you have to pay tax up to a certain amount that you have to pay tax. There's savings tax. The economist told me about savings tax. Sweet drinks tax. Even with the sweet drinks tax. And they propose that they're going to come with a salt tax. Sweet drink tax, and we still, so many people still diabetic. They very well know every survey and every research that you do. Go and do it yourself, because they love to say that we come on here and we're talking things that not true. Go and do your research and look at the sweet drink tax and tell me, where has it ever worked? Where you know that it cured, not cured, but we had less people being diabetic then. We had a reduction in diabetes, where the research says that it does not work. They very much knew that what they needed to do was to tax the manufacturers, not the regular people. Tell the manufacturers that, listen, there is a limit. There is this amount of sugar you need to put in the drinks, and if you don't do that, then we are going to put a fine on you. Charge the manufacturers, not the people, but they wanted more money. All they want is money, 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 money. Right? Of course, there's income tax, corporation tax. Yes. The taxes to clear the car at the port costs more than the car itself. We were talking about that today, the economist and I, that you will see a car, the car is say 40,000 or something like that in the US. By the time it comes here, and before it even gets into the lot for them to sell you, it's double the price. So how you are going to get up and only blame the retailers? And we're to believe that, Mr. Simmons? Yes, we're now paying 17.5, and they said that they were going to decrease it. Yeah, from the time they came into office, the first thing they did to poor people is to increase the bus fare. Right? Correct. Listen to me. Oh my God. Correct. They can do something about it. And especially, I mean, all of this borrowing. So where is money, all of this money that comes in from the borrowing, and then we are heavily taxed. Right? And in that second tax bracket that pays, what is it, 28%? There are people who are paying, there are people when they are finished with all of this, there are people who up to 40% of their their pay is taxed. They have their base, they have their gross, and by the time they're finished with them, and we're paying so much taxes. Can you tell me what anybody on here put in the comment section one thing that you say, well, I think they're doing this with our tax money. Don't say the roads. Don't say the roads. The mill and pave. Remember that they borrowed that money to do the mill and pave. Remember? Give me one thing, one piece of infrastructure in here, one social service that they've added, something they've added to our lives from the taxes. Though this is a government that has taxed us more than any other government since the inception of this country. Tell me one social service that you say, well, you know, that's good. I can see where my tax dollars going. Look at even the hospital. Look at the hospital. If we're paying all of this money in tax, why are we scared to go to the hospital? Foreign exchange tax, 2%, they tax. Everything, foreign exchange tax, anything. They lied. They knew that that VAT was not, they weren't going to do anything with that VAT. And we're paying the VAT, and then they came with the sweet drink tax to put more on us. And we don't have any leaders. Our leaders are not strong enough to be able to tell the IMF or whoever it is. All of these consultants, and they are getting their big money. And the people hungry. Correct. They talk about the this one, the road tax. The road tax. You remember? You remember what they said? This is the most deceptive thing. They said to us, they're going to remove the road tax. How many of you were jumping up and down when they said they're going to remove the road tax? And the other administration was awful, and all the years before to put a road tax. Everybody say yes. Yeah? Who remember that? I was speaking to an economist today, and he says to me, Marcia, Kimar had been saying about that, telling us that on the show for a while. They removed the road tax, but then they put a gas tax on us that is collecting from us more than the road tax. You heard what I said there? Stop and think about that level of deception. They came and they told us that they're going to remove the road tax. You remember? Let me check the comment section. Let me check the comment section, because I want us to be engaging in this tonight. We're doing this thing together. We are in this thing together tonight. You sharing? Are you sharing? This is education tonight. Yes? The road tax. You remember this big hullabaloo about the road tax? And that they're removing the road tax? How many of you were happy? How many of you were happy? But they put another tax in that is way more than the tax that they took off. If that is not deception, wickedness to the highest degree. And when we're asking the Public Accounts Committee, Ralph Thorne, they're asking for, to put certain things on the agenda, they don't want it. They're doing all kinds of manipulation and doing all kinds of things for us not to get any accountability. You think that this is right? No other government has taxed us like this before, and they are refusing to put on the agenda the things that matter to this country on the Public Accounts Committee agenda. Refusing to put it on the current agenda. They want it to come later down. Because they do not want to be accountable. They tax us, our pay. They gave us a little bit on the minimum wage. Yes, that is true. But then they take it back out with the taxes. They take it back out with the taxes. I checked, Trinidad don't have half of these taxes that we have. Jamaica don't have all of these taxes. But their salary is low. But the people give us oh, look at our salary in the Caribbean. But my goodness, you take it back. Yeah? Listen to me, people. We going to educate ourselves. You hear what I tell you? We will not be taken for a fool anymore. We know what to do, regardless of the party, you know. We must promise ourselves. There's some things, Barbadians, we need to promise ourselves that we're going to do. One is not to be taken a fool of anymore. Our ancestors will roll over in their graves to know that we're doing that. Bossa and Nanny, Greg and all of them. We must tell ourselves that we will never be taken fool of again. The next thing that we must tell ourselves is that we will never give another government all seats. Never do that again. And they are getting ready. As somebody said the other night on here, right? They said the other night on here that they possibly did not put much inside of that inside of crop over because they're gearing up for elections. Would you believe that they would seek to do that now? And they will do it now because they have decided to grind the DLP into the ground. They have decided that those third parties, they can't do anything. And the one other party that we could probably think, they have decided that they're going to infiltrate that party and they're going to destroy it and grind it to the ground. And I say, if you're a true Barbadian, it doesn't matter what party you're from. If you're a true Barbadian and you see the burden that we are bearing in this country, you see the burden of the taxes on top of our backs. We went through some of them. You were listing some of them. The tax at the pump, the sewage tax, the COVID tax, the land tax. And then it's not just a land tax, but they went and they inside of Bra, those people inside of there, took it up to all 300% on people. Property tax, savings tax, VAT, income tax, sweet drinks tax, corporation tax, cell phone tax. Every time you look around, there's a tax. We are burdened down. And we are burdened down in this country. And you are telling me to still line up behind a color. And because I choose to say absolutely not, I am not carrying any more burden. I do not want you to be my slave master and have me carrying this burden of taxes. Because I say that, you're going to say what about me, that we are being political. We have to be political because who's putting the burden of taxes on us? The politicians. They are the ones putting the burdens on our backs, beating us down. They're slave drivers. What on earth? Why would you need to, you are the most indebted government. We're the most, when you look at the debt of Barbados per capita, we're second to Japan. And at the same time, you're taxing us like this? Let me tell you something, Barbados. Promise yourselves, you will be an educated voter. Don't vote sentiment again, please. Don't talk about your grandmother was a D and your mother was a B and this was a P and all of that. Don't do it anymore. That is what got us here. And a lot of people did not vote. Huh? Over 50-something% of people, I think, did not vote. Is it 58 or 68% didn't vote? And you know what? They believe. You know what? To the almost 1,000 of you that watching here, you know what is the part of it that gets me? It's a part of it where they actually believe and they're confident that with all they're doing to us in Barbados, that they're going to win again. And that they're not just that they're going to win again, Barbados, listen to me, that they are going to get all seats again. You believe that? You believe that? That's how they see us. But let me just go to the, I think I have another slide. I got a little carried away because I want us to see, I want us to see, do I have another slide there? Our reality. What is our reality? Our reality is what I'm talking about. The wages are lagging behind the increased prices. Wages are lagging behind the increased prices. Our reality is underemployment. So they have, they publish all these things about the employment rate and so on. But the reality is, as I spoke with economists today, the reality is that many of our workers that they're counting as employed are temporarily employed. They're not working a full 40-hour work week. Yeah. They are not, so they're counting them as employed so that the statistic can look good. But the reality is that they are not working a full 40-hour week. I know so many persons who are working 2 days a week, 3 days a week. And then you're going to be, oh, look at your employment rate. We are suffering from underemployment. We're not, because they are not working a full 40-hour week. All of these little trickery. You're giving big man, they get 2 days a week and have a family of 3 children and a wife to take care of. And you're out flaunting this and getting up in parliament and you're sending this all about. And you very much know what the makeup is of that figure. So you will end up with a decreased employment rate, but will do nothing to alleviate poverty. We will just look at and we see the low employment rate, not realizing that quite a number of those people that you are counting as employed are not working a full 40-hour week, right? And what is our reality? It doesn't alleviate poverty. People cannot pay their bills. I showed you last night that a family of 4, a husband, a wife, and 2 children, basic, we use conservative figures, in coming up with that budget last night. Conservative figures, over $4,960. We're not buying brand name anything and brand name food and all of that. Basic. Living in a 2-bed. We put them in a 2-bedroom house, not even 3. $4,960. And when you look at the basic salary, can't cover that. Cannot cover that for the average family. What is our reality? What is our reality? The standard of living decreases for all of us, except them politicians that give themselves a raise. Except them. The standard of living decreases for all of us, except them. They go in and they look like they're living large. The biggest rides. They start to expand, extend their homes and refurbish, and oh my Lord. Some of them, they don't shop here. They don't even do their health care here because they know that the hospital is nothing. People sleeping on the floor. Rat running up and down in the hospital. I see that with my 2 eyes. Rat running down the visitors. And running inside the bed. Climbing up on the people's bed. The sick people bed. Our standard of living has decreased over the last 6 years in this country. That is our reality. But they're trying to tell us we've never had it that good. Huh? They told us that the water we're feeling coming down on us, it's a blessings. It's coming, it's rain. When guess what? It's what? It's urine. But they tell us it's rain. Some of you wouldn't use another word. I'm not going to use those words. Right? But the wee-wing on us, I would say wee-wee, is wee-wee the wee-wing on us and tell us that it's rain. It's abundance of rain. The standard of living decreases in this country. That's our reality, Barbados. And some of you're saying, when you heard the people come on last night talking about the people that go to buy the 2 pieces of chicken and the $1 worth of flour and go and buy 1 onion and a Maggi cube and some macaroni sticks. Happening in this country. The people who only cook on a Sunday and it lasts a little bit on Monday and then it starts to wean off on Tuesday and then on about to cook. Not because they don't want to cook, but it run out. Our standard of living has decreased over the last 6 years. Go and read the manifesto if you think I'm telling lies. All the lies that they have told us. Broken promises. What is our reality? Poor nutrition. Poor nutrition. That is our reality. Increase in diabetes and hypertension and all the non-communicable diseases. That is our reality in here. All coming from this inflation that I showed you at the beginning. And the fact that there are things that the government can control. They can do something about the burden of taxes on the people of this country. The increase in these kinds of diseases bring a strain on the QEH. All of this money that they're collecting in taxes, all of this money from the loan, and you're telling me that we have a rat-infested hospital. We have a hospital where there was someone here who visited from a diaspora, and they put it on Facebook, and they said that this was the hospital in hell. They were on the floor, and people walking past them on the floor. I know of elderly people. My friend's mother went there, and she sat there in a wheelchair for 3 days, waiting to be seen by the doctor, an elderly woman, after you have paid all of your taxes. Huh? So we have poor nutrition. Our health and nutrition negatively impacted. We cannot buy the things that we want to eat, the proper things that we need to eat. We can't get any proper care at QEH because there's a strain on QEH, right? And we can't afford the to pay private doctors because they're licking out all of our salary with the taxes. We can't afford. We don't have any savings because we can't walk to work. Huh? And we cannot. So what are we supposed to do? And now they come now telling us about this thing again, and all the this virus thing again, and all of that again on everybody. What is going to happen to QH? The song, we have the song there from Biggie Irie. I wish we could play it. Right? Biggie Irie. He's a Calypsonian and giving his experience, whether real, I don't know if it made it up, but I don't know if it's real, or he just wrote a story from people's stories, because some of what he's saying is what I'm saying, that I know people who, and that my friend's mother died. As soon as she got a bed, she died, because the poor woman was suffering, sitting in a wheelchair for 3 days. You know what it is, sitting up in a wheelchair for 3 days? An elderly person? Is that the way we treat our elderly? And all of these taxes, I understand that we have to collect taxes, but my goodness, what are you doing? What are you using it for? I asked you all to tell me to give me an improve in social services. Well, we did get some electric buses. Yeah? We did get some electric buses, and we got some garbage can that nobody asked for no garbage can. We had our regular garbage cans. Nobody asked for no garbage can, that you are going to pay all of these thousands of dollars to give everybody a garbage can. Did we ask you for that? Right? Yes, the buses, the electric buses, those are good. Right? And we hope they're safe. We know that one caught fire. But the idea of, yes, we needed buses on the road. We got some garbage trucks, but we still have garbage piled up. I wonder if they gave us those large garbage containers with the cover, because they knew that they were not going to be able to pick up the garbage on time. Sometimes that garbage can could hold me. I could go and hide in the garbage can, the way the garbage can is big. And it will be there sometimes for days before they come to pick up the garbage. Huh? Tell me. And as I said, don't tell me roads, because they told us that the road in front of me here was fixed when they were getting ready for Sam Lords. And I saw the IDB man introduce himself to me, the IDB. They are the ones who gave the money for the roads. It's not the taxes. So these in here need to come and tell us what happened to the taxes. What is it being used for? Yes. It's time. Yeah. Tyrone said, how you going to fill up a garbage can if you can't buy groceries? Huh? Yeah. How many garbage trucks are there to service the island adequately? I know that they're listening, and I'm telling you, the people are fed up in here, and you are thinking, somehow, you are thinking that we are not onto what you are doing. Tell the people, why haven't you done complete the process of passing the integrity bill act legislation? Why? I can't remember the correct name. Why? Because you're worried. You are worried. Some of you know what you are doing to the Barbadian people. So we must bear the burden, and you must travel to Dubai and take all of these 80 something. You know how much you go to Dubai? Who know how much you go to Dubai? 80 something people to go to Dubai. Is it 80 something or 60 something? Correct me, please, because I don't want to come and tell any lies on them. Yeah? Okay. And this is what we are dealing with in Barbados at this time. Yeah. I see Don Leacock is on, and I don't know, I don't think Dave has that song. If he can find the song by if we can find a song with the hospital by and we will play that after Don. I see Don is here. If we had it, it'd be good to break up the monotony of me speaking for so long. but I'm going to bring Don in at this moment. Don Leacock is gonna come in, and he is going to be Dave is gonna Don, just a couple minutes. Don, we're gonna play this song. Go right ahead, Dave.
This is a positive song, I mean no disrespect. I just want to tell my story without any regret. Everybody asking me why I getting so small. They say the girl horning me, I tell them no, not at all. Must be the COVID shook that take off all of that fat. I want in all about my candy bank to come back. I tell them my head hurt me so bad I thought I was dead. QE had no ambulance, so I catch a Zedar instead. Straight to the hospital directly to A&E. This is when I wait so long, the fans start trouble for me. Yes, the fans start trouble for me. If you want to get money, spend 2 days in the A&E. But if you want to lose the weight with QEH, you must set a date. If you want to get money, spend 2 days in the A&E. But if you want to lose the weight, get admitted to the QEH. The QEH, the QEH, where a doctor working 40 hours a day. The QEH, the QEH, where the nurses work so hard and can't get the pay. The QEH, the QEH, for days I waited there, that's why I say, if you want to get money, spend 2 days in the A&E. But if you want to lose the weight with QEH, you must set a date and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. Wait till you lose the weight.
All right, and that is Biggie Irie talking about his experience at the QEH. The QEH. I can't sing like that. Hello, Don Leacock. How are you?
Hi, Marcia. I'm doing well. And you?
I am doing fabulous. Doing really, really great. It's good to see you. And we have been talking all of this week, since last week, about the cost of living in Barbados.
Hmm.
And I see you as representing the millennials,
Hmm.
right? And I know you have your own business. Is that so, Don?
Yes, correct. Do
You are.
accounting, investment, and real estate services right now.
Wow,
Hmm.
accounting, investment, and real estate services. And I want you to talk to us about the cost of living. I mean, you're the right person to talk to. You do taxes. You are an accountant. You see, what is happening. How is this affecting the millennials?
I have this debate with my mother all the time. Everybody knows that inflation, that wages never keep up with inflation. So me and her were actually debating the other day. I was saying, let's say in the 80s, it might have been 20% of your salary that you would have used to pay your mortgage every month. But
Mm-hmm.
because of inflation and because wages haven't kept up with that, nowadays in our millennial generation, and why it's so hard for us to even qualify for a mortgage in the first place, is that a mortgage might be 75% of your salary or 80% of your salary. And that's why it's so hard for us in the young generation to even qualify for homes. So it's a prospect that we don't really get to enjoy the same way as before. But overall, the cost of living is also put up just by our government directly. We have the second highest gas price in the world, behind only Hong Kong, I believe it is. And
Wow.
80% of that gas price is taxes. It's not like
Hold
if
a
there
minute.
is.
I want you to say that again because now, I too am he's a CPA, Don Leacock, and I'm so proud of him. He's a young man, and this is what he's doing, and I'm so proud of him. I myself, that's my designation, but I haven't practiced in so long. So even if you don't want to believe me, I want you to listen to this young man. He is qualified, and as I told you, us Bajans, we educated people, and he is telling us. So can you say that slower for me, Don? Because we want to educate our people. So say what you just said there about the gas prices.
Barbados has the second highest gas. Well, it might don't directly quote me on it, but we're in top three in the gas prices in the world for sure. The last time I checked the stats, we were behind only Hong Kong, and
Mm-hmm.
also 75 to 80% of our gas price is taxes. It's not like if we're importing the gas more expensively than any other countries around us. The government itself is just charging so much in taxes for it. So sure, the overall world cost of living is going up, but Barbados is being taxed so heavily that it's affecting us even more than the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And with this high gas prices, um uh, I was going to. I know of another young man, and he said to me, "I don't know how you guys." He's visiting. He's home. From the diaspora, coming into Barbados, visiting, and just saying to me, "I don't know how you move around. How do
Hmm.
you? So how is that affecting you, your generation? This gas prices. How does it affect you?"
Well, it's tough. I mean, even if you think about imports on getting a car, the duties on a car are well over 100%. If you wanted to bring in anything from a fancy car all the way to a relatively simple car, the
Mm-hmm.
duties to bring in a car in Barbados are astronomical, well over 100%. So when you couple that fact with the fact that you also have to pay the second highest gas price in the world, it really makes it tough for young people to start any kind of businesses in terms of transportation, freighting, that kind of stuff, which are in high demand right now. There's a lot of construction going on in the country at the moment. So,
Mm-hmm.
trucks, lorries, all of these freight transportation type businesses would be very easy to break into at this point in time because there's demand for it. But since there's so much capital that needs to be outlaid, it wouldn't really be feasible for a young person to be able to break into these industries. Um, it makes it extremely tough. That's all you can say. It monopolizes a lot of the industries. Only the people with millions of dollars to play with can really stay in the game. And it doesn't really leave young people with any slice of the pie left.
Hmm. So what about so you spoke about those who might want to start businesses, etc. What about those who have left UA? they did what they're supposed to do. You get your
Mhm.
education, you get a degree. Some even go and study at a master's level, right?
Mhm.
um and then there's some who they just got their CXCs.
Mhm.
What are they finding jobs? Are they finding jobs? And what kind are they finding jobs in the area of that they've studied?
Not really. The job market is very highly saturated. Free education is definitely a blessing here to us here in Barbados, but it comes as a double-edged sword in the fact that now the standard is high. The bare
Mm,
minimum to get a job is a full bachelor's degree, whereas that wouldn't have been the case 20, 30 years ago. Lots of people only finished with CXCs and never got anything past that. But the free education has, as I said, it's a double-edged sword. We definitely are blessed because we're one of the only countries in the world to offer free education to our citizens. But at the
mm-hmm,
same time, as you said, we're coming out, seeing a lot of people coming out with master's degrees, even PhDs, and still struggling to find work or struggling to find well-paying jobs that would be conducive to what they studied. If you have a master's in something, you don't want to go and take a minimum wage job. You really put time and energy into your education. So
mm-hmm,
we really need to find a solution to that. As I've said on the show multiple times, I encourage young people to look beyond Barbados's shores. I encourage young people to go on job sites like LinkedIn,
mm-hmm,
etc., and look for remote jobs. There are people in America, Canada, Europe hiring, paying euros, pounds, USD. You don't necessarily need to pigeonhole yourself here to Barbados. Just set up yourself, do a nice resume, and open up yourself to the whole world. Make the whole world be your market, not just Barbados. Because if you're just trying to compete with Barbados, you won't ever get anywhere.
mm-hmm. And do you find a lot of young people are doing that, or they're still trying to get jobs in this saturated market? Do you see them trying to, to work in other markets?
No, that's not a trend. That's a trend. I keep talking about it because I would like to manifest it for society, but it's not
Yes.
something that's common practice just yet. It's something
Why
that
you
I
think
do.
that is so? Why do you think that is so?
It's maybe the thought might be intimidating. You see, for me, I've lived in America for multiple years. I've lived in other countries like Bermuda for multiple years. I kind of have a
Mm-hmm,
bigger grasp of how gigantic the world actually is. And for someone that might have been a little bit less fortunate and has only stayed here in Barbados, only gone to UA in Barbados, they're not really aware of all the opportunities that they have out there in the world. But I really know how big the world is, how much money there
mm-hmm,
is moving around out there. So it just helps you think bigger, dream bigger. You know what I mean? And that's just something that we'll have to keep pushing on a show just like this, pushing in the newspaper, pushing in the media, because it is a realistic thing. Like there are companies in America that would love to hire people that have masters in computer science down here. They could work for Apple, they could work for IBM, for Google, for the best
mm-hmm,
companies in the world, but they just don't have that mindset to be like, I'm worthy of that. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go seek out a job at Google. I'm gonna email a recruiter at Google or Apple or another big software company. People don't. They're
mm-hmm,
not thinking that big. They need to think like the world is their oyster. That saying, you need to really normalize that saying, as opposed to
mm-hmm.
just looking in the classifieds of the nation to find jobs here.
Yeah, I think it's well said. No, I know that one of the things that the government is doing, and they say, oh, look at the number of people who are self-employed.
Hmm.
And some of our young people, some of the millennials like yourself, they're going in that route. They're taking that
Hmm.
route of to be self-employed. But do you think that people are really making ends meet with becoming entrepreneurs? It's really working for them. Do you
Yeah,
think that's happening?
I would say on the government's part that that's a very easy cop out. It's a lot easier to say that, oh,
Why you say it's an easy cop out?
because it's a lot easier for the government to say that, oh, we have 60% of the population under 30 are self-employed. It's a lot easier to say that than unemployed, if you get what I mean.
Yes.
Majority of those self-employed people, quote unquote, are just people that don't have a job, so they've been forced to start doing anything, whether it be from selling coconuts to anything all the way up the scale. It's not about wanting to be self-employed. Obviously, I'm self-employed myself and think, oh, it would be lovely to go back to a 9 to 5 job sometimes, get some paid vacation, etc., etc. But
Yeah.
but there are a lot of people out there that are self-employed that really want to have a job, but they've been forced into self-employment because they can't get a job because of the same market saturation. So I would say it's a very easy cop out for the government to say, oh, look at our young people, they're also self-employed. They're only self-employed because they'd be unemployed otherwise. And it's not to say that there
Never
is
saw
not.
it that way. That is interesting. And then, I mean, if we have they done analysis of those who are self-employed? I mean, can they pay their bills? Can they,
Mhm,
can they? How much? What kind of wages are they paying their
mhm.
employees?
And then
You know.
also we run up in the problem. We talked about homes and buying a piece of the rock earlier.
Yes.
Self-employed people, it's a lot harder to get lines of credit like car loans or mortgages, etc. Because the bank likes to see something steady, that like you're getting steady income every month. So you're pushing young people even further out of the reality of being able to buy their own home and start their own home and family and everything. Because with the amount of self-employed people need so much more documentation to get a loan than employed people do. So that's yet another problem that youth are going to face, another stumbling block that they're going to face in terms of really manifesting their destiny, having that house, car, family, that just modern life that it used to be 20 years ago. That's such a stretch for the young people to think about right now.
So you're saying it's very hard for them to imagine,
Mm-hmm.
a future where they have a home in
Mm-hmm.
Barbados. They buy to get a piece of the rock for
Mm-hmm.
young people. You think they feel
Mm-hmm.
it's a bit far fetched?
Very much so, because the fact is that even sometimes, as I said, it's a lot harder to get. Like, you're paying much more of your salary in
Hmm.
mortgage nowadays than you were a good couple of years ago. And then the fact that, as we mentioned, a lot of the young people are self-employed. So the bank is like, oh, well, unless you've been making consistent profit for the last 3 4 years, we're not giving you a loan as a self-employed person. And what happened in the last 3 4 years? COVID. Nobody was making money. So that immediately rules out all self-employed people from getting a mortgage. And that's a lot of our young people here today in society. So the millennials and younger definitely struggling.
Yeah, the Barbadian, you don't that dream. It's hard to
Hmm.
dream.
Hmm.
Very hard to dream. So I'm here thinking. I'm looking at you. Just so intelligent. So proud of you. But I'm thinking. I'm a real mommy. I'm thinking, Don. Of those young men who we see on the streets with these very long guns. I saw a guy with a gun. I tell you, the gun probably looked like it was taller than he was.
This
You know,
is army you're talking about, or civilians?
civilians,
Okay.
not the army.
Because at Crop Over, they had pictures of Rihanna posing with the guns and everything. So
Yeah, not no,
yeah.
not thing. But I'm saying to myself, I'm here wondering, is it the shooting and the killing and these brandishing of these guns that cost so much money? Are we looking here at just deviant behavior, or are we looking at is are these entrepreneurs, are these people trying to make ends meet? I'm not,
Hmm.
I want us to take the judgment off a little bit and really look at the situation. Are these young people who say, but I want a piece of this Barbadian dream too. I can get a job, and I want to get a house. I want to have a car. I want to get new clothes. I want new shoes. I want things. Is it that, or it is just deviant behavior? What do you think?
No, it can't just be deviant behavior. At the end of the day, the root cause of most crime is poverty. It's not anything else. People don't necessarily want to go out there and be stealing a grandmother's purse or be robbing somebody's car. Nobody wants to do that. They're only going to do so if they're very well compelled to do so. Unfortunately, in today's times with social media and other things that have become popular, instant gratification is really something that people crave. And when you think about what instant gratification means for like 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, they see the father figure in their neighborhoods, which is usually the biggest drug dealer, driving a Benz or a Range Rover, wearing huge gold chains. What's the easiest way to get that kind of money? Crime. You're going to need to sell a lot of drugs, or you're going to need to become a shooter for one of the drug dealers and make a lot of
Mm.
money committing crime that way. So that's the only real way to get all of that status that they see, the image of success that they see. That's really the easiest way for them to do it. And that's what drives a lot of them to crime. There are even a lot of people that literally can't feed their, we have a lot of teenage pregnancies nowadays as well. Well, and there's just no way. There's no other way to feed their family a lot of the time. I'll never forget one of the COVID cases that was in the papers. It was either 2020 or 2021. Was a
Mhm.
fisherman had got arrested for going fishing, for trying to fish and feed his family. It wasn't even to resell the fish, it was
Ah,
literally
yes.
just to fry the fish to feed his own family, and he got in trouble for that. So when you have the system really working against you like that, and the only real way to make money is, as the government would like to call it, be self-employed. Well, self-employed people sell drugs. Self-employed people shoot people. That is the reality of it. But if they were able to find gainful employment, there's no way that they'd be out there in the streets wrecking havoc like that, Marcia.
That's a good way to put it, because they have to find a way to supplement their income,
Hmm.
and some of them might have grown up, Don, and seen their parents suffering, and
Hmm.
they barely
Definitely.
had any money to take to school and so on. And so they, in their minds, the only way to do this thing, they've got to find a way. In their minds, they have to find a way. And so that is the way that some of them, not that we're excusing, I don't want anybody to think that we're excusing the behavior,
No,
but
definitely
we're
not.
saying that some of it is them trying to
Hmm.
make something better, of their lives, you
You're
know.
just a product of your environment at the end of the day.
Yes, everybody, they want the same thing. They want the same thing. I was telling the story, and I said it on here before, of I was talking to a young man. He was probably about 16, 17 at the time, no work. He's left school, can barely read, etc. And he was doing something around the house to me. And I said to him, I'm really hoping that you don't go, and get yourself in trouble. And you're talking to him, and he said, but I call me Auntie Marcy, but we need things,
Yeah,
he
that's
said
very
this
true.
Christmas, he
We
told me at
need
the time, he said
things.
this Christmas gonna be a lot of robbing. I said, what do you mean? He said, a lot of robbing. He said, because we need things,
Hmm.
right?
Definitely.
We need things, and so sometimes we have to stop and think about that, as well. You talk about the taxation that we are enduring, the gas cost, the price, and how a lot of that gas price is taxes. Okay. But
Hmm.
then, and these are things that we're saying that the government could do something about, but then we see that politicians give themselves a raise even in the midst of all of this.
Yeah.
When, as millennials, when you see these things done, when you sit and talk with your friends, what are they thinking?
It's frustrating, because every single week in the paper, you see Barbados has inked a new 50, 60, $70 million loan from the IMF, from China, from wherever it might be from the IDB, from literally, they come from all over the place. I don't even know there are all these institutions lending money to third world countries. But whoever is lending money, Mia Motley goes for it. And she knows full well that she's just kicking the can down the road. She might put up a little bit of infrastructure in the near term, in the next couple of years, but at the end of the day, who's going to have to pay for that? The majority of that is us millennials. We're going to be having to make interest payments on that. And it's not even that she's striking good loans. When she goes to sign a loan, she might sign the loan for an interest rate of, let's say, for example, 3%. A couple
Mm-hmm.
years later, it's gone up 400%. So now it's up in 12%. So it's not to say that she's writing good loans with fixed interest rates or anything. The interest rates on our loans are ballooning, and it's really really going to affect our population going forward. And that's why she always talks about we need new people. All we need new people for is to keep because if the tax system doesn't keep getting new people to pay tax, obviously it'll just crumble. So that's why she always complains about our declining population. She knows that she's borrowing all this money and she's going to need young Barbadians to pay it back. And that's really concerning for us. Our debt to GDP ratio by the time when my generation are in their 40s and 50s, it's going to be completely unsustainable. Because then when we're 20, 30 years from now, we're still going to need to be borrowing money, but we might not be able to because we might have such bad bond ratings with all the international agencies, since our debt will be so high because of the decisions that are being made now. So it's really disappointing and it's concerning about the levels of debt that we're going to be in after this. This government has borrowed the most money in history. This government has taxed the people of Barbados the most in history, and it can't continue like this, Marcia. It really can't.
What do you think, Don? Because I'm honestly trying to understand why do you think what do you think the money is being used for? If we're the most taxed and they've borrowed the most, what's going on? Because I'm not, I mean, I can see well the money they borrowed money and they did the roads. I could see that. But in terms of our social services and so on, I don't know why do you think she's borrowing more money? Let's put that. You're a
Yeah,
CPA.
because it's not like if it's going towards things that are benefiting the whole country. When you think about what we borrowed money for this year, we spent $100 million on Kensington. How is the average Bajan really seeing a return from that? Did Barbados make $100 million in tourism, in added tourism revenue from the World Cup? Of course not. Will we even make that in the next 2, 3 years? Of course not. It's really just to put on a show. And at the end of the day, you don't really want to talk about the darker side of politics, but it's corruption. Politicians make money when they spend money. So if you're borrowing hundreds of millions of dollars to spend money all the time, that's the easiest way for you to get kickbacks. So if you spend money on infrastructure, it's the easiest way for them to, get money sent to their offshore companies for consulting, quote unquote, and all these other fees. So it's really the greed that really drives the whole thing. The more money they spend, the more money they make in bribes. And that's the reality of it.
Wow, this is, I mean, just plainly put. So Don, I wanted to see some of the questions. Some people, let me just some of the comments. Somebody says, well, drugs and guns is a lucrative business and it will stay. Wow. And Linton says, yes, sir. You're so right. The young people should look outside of Barbados. I did that 54 years ago. Couldn't keep the job in the hotel industry that I went to school for. And I've worked at some of the best hotels, but couldn't keep them. And not one day have I not regretted it because nearly all of them is here. Even my 19-year-old mom who passed in August from old age couldn't have her in QEH, not on this watch or any nursing home facility there. So she's agreeing with you that to encourage them to look outside. I mean, but Don, a
Hmm.
lot of people, you are saying to try to find jobs that you could still be in Barbados and still be able to to work in those jobs. But we're finding a lot of people your age who are leaving Barbados though,
Hmm.
like
Definitely.
getting up. Do you well, that's what I see. You tell me, is that what is happening in your with your friends?
Yeah, that would be the dream. A lot of people living and working here, if they got an opportunity to go to America, Canada, Europe, Africa, the Middle East, Dubai, anywhere, they would definitely jump at the opportunity to do that. When you think about Barbados, we have a strong currency in the Caribbean, but when you think of all the other bigger currencies, from America, Canada, Europe, etc., if you get a chance to go and work for do the exact same job in America and you're making the exact, let's say you make $60,000 here, you might make 60,000 USD in America, and the
Mm-hmm.
cost of living in America is cheaper than here. So when you come back at Christmas, you have literally double your money. And it's not to say you're working harder, doing the exact same job. America just values you more. If you live and work in America, or if you work for US dollars here, you work for an American company, you're adding more value to the world. So you get paid based off of the value that you create in society and the value you create in the world. And living and working here in Barbados, you're only creating value for people here in Barbados. And while
Mm.
that is very relevant for us here, Barbados doesn't really, we're not really a fighter up there in terms of like GDP in turn worldwide. So you
Mm-hmm.
really need to be working for those American companies or consulting for them, be a freelancer for them in whatever capacity, because those are the companies that are really making billions of dollars a year, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. There are very few Beijing companies that make millions of dollars a year, and that's
Mm.
where we really need to be focused on. We need to be
Yes.
focused on working with those bigger companies so that then your expertise can be truly compensated in the way that it should be.
Yes. Don, before you go, I want to know, as you sit and you talk with your friends, you must probably sit over drinks and you're talking about what's happening in Barbados.
Yeah.
What do you suggest? What are you guys talking about as a solution to what we are all facing? Because everybody is facing this high cost of living. Where the Barbadian dream for a lot of you young people being snatched away from you, getting a home, all of that. What do you practically, what's the solution to this thing? What are you all talking about?
There it's a lot of different things that you would have to do. I think that to start with, as the government, you just need to free up on a lot of the bureaucracy, and that goes from everything in terms of opening a business, opening a bank account, the length of the time it takes to do all of these things. I find one of the biggest things for me, between living in Barbados and living in America as a young adult, is America things happen fast. Like the speed of things happen so fast. I can give quick examples of even like Cash App. I don't know if you'd heard of Cash App or any
Yes,
of those money apps.
of
If
course.
I
Yeah.
wanted to, if one of my friends, let me just give really easy examples. If one of my friends had on like an amazing pair of shoes or something, that like a very custom vintage pair, I could cash out him $256.80 if that's what he wanted for the shoe immediately, boom, straight off the bat. And that goes all the way up to real estate. If I saw a beautiful house in a beautiful neighborhood and it was going for $300,000 and I had $300,000, I could sign and close for that house and it would be in my legal name tomorrow. Things like
Mm-hmm.
that don't happen in Barbados. If you want to buy a house, even if you're not getting any mortgage or anything, you're just paying them cash, it takes 8 9 months. So it really about the speed of transactions. If we were able to have fruit ladies, being able to accept digital payments straight
Mm.
through all the way through that, I think that the speed of transactions is what really puts America ahead of the game. Their money is moving so fast, it keeps switching hands. A dollar bill in America might switch hundreds of hands in a day, whereas here in Barbados it might only switch 3 or 4 hands. And it's not, and that just makes society go around. It's the same dollar bill, it's offering the same value, but it's moving around faster. So I would encourage government in every single way to speed up the transactions here in Barbados, and that could go anything from buying a fruit on the side of the road to buying a house. They need to be happening quicker, they need to be happening faster. And then the biggest thing as well would to be to ease up on the corruption. We need to have a lot more balance of payments here in Barbados. There need to be checks and balances to make sure that there's not rampant corruption happening, because that is what takes into a lot of our national budget as well. Arguably 10% of our GDP every year goes to corruption, maybe more, maybe slightly less, but that's a lot when we're talking about billions of dollars in GDP.
Yes.
So I would say that's where we could start to focus our
Yes.
attention.
Yes. Wow. Well, Nigel is asking one last question, and then I see another millennial is here, Shawani Hunt. I'm going to get as Don goes. I'm going to bring in Shawani to speak with us. You said so Nigel Newton is asking Don, do you think that there is to be
That there is time to limit the
limits the
power.
power of government? Thank you. There's time to limit that. This is a time or something to limit the power of government.
It's in because that's a really broad question, right, Marcia? So what are
Yeah.
we what are we talking about? It depends on what we're talking about. in terms of obviously you want to limit the power of government, for example, in terms of like women's rights, abortion rights, something like that. um because when I think limiting the power of government, I'm thinking more of like a capitalist society, something more like
I
America,
don't know
where
if that's where he's going. I'm not sure,
I used to, I'm not too sure
Yeah,
exactly
well,
what direction he's going with the
he will
question.
have to qualify that a little later. But Don, thank you so much
Yeah.
for being here. And I need to let the audience know that we're seeking to do a night of just youth. And I'm hoping that Don can join. We're next week, Monday night, Don. We're back on again,
For
and we're
sure.
gonna have
Yeah.
some youth from
Hmm.
also from Kenya, and we'll be discussing some of these same issues here, and with our counterparts, with millennials in Kenya, Barbados, and different places. So you will all be on with Shaquani. Shaquani is going to be on, and she's gonna host on that time, and hopefully you can host another time, and I won't be
Hmm.
around. I will not even be on the platform. I'm turning it over to you all. I'm excited to do that. So
We've
I'm
trained
looking.
as well.
Yes. All right, Don, thank you for coming on. So intelligent. Great to have you
Hmm.
always on. Okay, say
Yeah,
hi to
thanks for
your
having
family.
me.
To
Hmm.
mommy, tell mommy not to try to push you out too early. I know. Go buy a house. Go buy a house. Tell her, no, let you stay home.
Yeah,
All
definitely.
right. Bye bye,
Okay,
Don.
guys. Yeah, have a nice productive rest of the show.
Yes, God bless. Thanks. Shaquani, how are you doing, my sister?
Hi, good night, Marcia. I am good. I hope everybody is good as well.
Yes, yes, yes. It's good to see you. I love your tone. I love
Thank
your
you.
voice. I remember hearing you speak at an event, and I sat there and I watched you the entire time. I was just looking at you and admiring just the way you speak and how you were speaking. You didn't even have notes, and you were so eloquent. And just your voice. I love the tone, the texture of your voice. Wonderful.
Thank you very much, Marcia.
Well, Shaquani, I always like to talk with you guys on what is happening in the economy. And you were supposed to come on earlier, you know,
Yes.
and
Apologies, everybody. I was supposed to come on a little bit earlier, but I'm here.
you're here. You're here. We won't tell them what happened. We won't tell them. But but it's good to have you here. And Shaquani, you are one of the first millennials. I heard you were talking, I mean, really speaking truth to power as it relates to the economy and what millennials are facing. And we would talk, I listened to you from afar, and then we met, and I heard your heart, and you were saying to me, Marcia, it is hard. So can you talk to Barbados, please, about what millennials are facing? What is it that they are having difficult struggle with financially? What are their economic struggles?
Well, most millennials are currently working, studying, and then working somewhere. So when you think about what the basic salary would be, say you're working 9 to 5 and you're doing minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
Most people around my age and most people I know, they usually would work in the day and try to go to school at nighttime, or they're doing both. So you may find people. I have people in my class who actually sometimes are at work and then have to like zoom in. So they're taking classes during their lunch hour
Mm.
because they can't afford to be home, but they can't afford not to go to school because you need the education so you can get your degree, so you can get a better job. But you also need a job so you can get the education because you can't afford to go to school.
Mhm.
So
So
having
they're basically hustling. They're trying, and they're doing this to give themselves a better chance at getting a job.
Yes, they're doing it to get a better chance of getting a job, but there's no guarantee that after you get your degree, there's a better job for you because a lot of the people, when they're finished their degrees, there are no jobs. There's no jobs that would pay you to cover the cost one of studying or to give up your current job to go and work with them. A lot of people like to ask millennials to volunteer and do internships. I remember when I came out my first program from secondary school. at tertiary level after studying cosmetology for 2 years. I thought I had everything. My first internship was roughly $50 a week. And at that time, I caught 3 buses to get to work. That was practically barely bus fare. So sometimes when you see young people going to internships, sometimes there's no money attached to these internships. The school does not require all internship holders to give you a stipend or money, because when you think about it, that was in 2016 or 17. Transferring to now was first 350 a a trip. So if you had to, if they were being paid that same amount of money, you can't afford to do an internship. So even though you will like that work experience, that hands-on experience, it is costly for you to leave your job to do an internship, but you're also required by the government, if you're doing a degree, to do work-based hours. Every person studying in Barbados, once you're doing a degree, you're required to do 150 hours if you're full-time per year, well, per semester, and 100 hours part-time. And I know a lot of people who struggled as part-time students and full-time students doing hours, because sometimes they clash. We're in school. If you're doing a full-time course, you're at school all day. On the weekend, that may be the only time you may have to do some work, or you may be working night shifts, because I know people who work night to accommodate when it's only daytime. Sometimes they don't have room to do the give back hours, but that is a cost. If you don't submit those hours to the government, you could be billed. Because I remember at the beginning of last semester, my tutor reached out to me to let us know we need to submit our hours. The government is checking in. If you're not doing your hours or documenting them, you may be sent a bill for studying. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but if you're not doing your give back hours, if your children are not doing those hours, they could be billed for
Wow.
studying video. So that means the cost that the government would normally cover, you would have to cover it because you didn't do those hours. But sometimes those hours are so hard to do because we are at school. Some of my classes are 3 hours. I may be doing, well, my classes are different because all of my classes are at nights. So mostly from 5 to 8, from 5 to 9, I'm mostly at school. But my program is full time.
Mm.
In my program work in the day, or some of them may work night as well because they're in the culture industry. So it's really, really hard, like juggling school and work. Sometimes you will see our students zooming in if we're allowed to, or you may have to defer a class that particular year because you can't get out of work and you need the work to pay rent, to pay bills, pay car expenses.
Yeah. You know,
What has,
some.
I see a question here asking what exactly is Give Back Hours? So
Mhm.
Give Back Hours is basically an internship program created by the government to help with, basically they pay for students to go to school. So if you're studying and you're doing a bachelor's at BCC or UE, you're required to do government Give Back Hours. And for every year you study, you are supposed to do 150 hours roughly. So if you're full time, I think the total is roughly 450 hours you do during that period that you're studying. And how it's documented, you're supposed to submit 150 hours, I think is every single year. So if you don't submit those hours, it could be an inquiry where they ask you to pay money because you didn't do any volunteering, like you didn't do an internship. It doesn't mean that you can't get a stipend for doing your internship period, but you're not supposed to be paid. So even though it is a lot of hours, technically people are not supposed to pay you for doing that work. So on top of you may be working, you may have to take vacation because some people take vacation to do their hours in a lump sum. So if you do your hours in a lump sum, you may be off maybe 10 weeks to do those hours, and you're not going to be paid for that time period. If it's a stipend, it's not going to be a lot of money because it can't be a salary. That is what is required. But yeah, I let me see, probably around since 2018 or
Yes,
19.
it came with this government, and I think it's good. But what happens is that it's very stressful. The young people are in a very stressful situation because they actually have to work. One time when people are going to school, they go to UE and they come home and that's it. It's not like that for
Mhm.
the millennials. They're in a very stressful situation because their parents can't afford, I mean, even just a bus fare. Some people taking three buses to get to UE. So
Exactly.
so it's tough, and so they have
So,
to they have to
mhm.
work,
So
and they
even
go.
though studying is quote unquote free, it's not really free because when you think about it, you still have to get there, you still have to eat meals, you still have to get books. There's a lot of cost attached to it that is not considered as a cost by the government. But so they would say, yes, we have free education. But to get there is not free. To get a
Mhm.
laptop is not free. Almost every class you're required to do typing, you're required to come online. So I remember a point in time in my studies, I had people in my class who did not have laptops. They could not afford to purchase laptops. And a lot of people don't even know about the options out there for assistance. So it was really hard for them to do the courses because they couldn't type documents. They had to go to the library. So when you think about it, studying is extremely expensive, even though it is free. So imagine if you're required to pay something because you couldn't do give back hours because you didn't have the time to do it. What I will say is that people need to be really cognizant and checking with their hours. Like if you're not sure, if you're not documenting, call the Ministry of Education because you can call them and let them know, well, I can't log in. You can call them and let them know, well, I did my hours at this location and I'm not seeing them approved on site because we document our own hours in the site. Sometimes the site has glitches, but you have to be on top of it because it is very important. I am seeing a lot of people talking about how stressful it could be for students. Is extremely stressful. Like I don't think people understand how stressful it is because a lot of students struggle with mental health issues, and you will see a lot of young people are so much more open about how hard school is. So when you see people complaining about exam time and the requirements and what you have to do, it is not that they're not putting any work. It is extremely tedious because sometimes for some of these courses you're required to do so much. Like for some elements of my course, I'm required to actually put on productions. So even though class may be 3 hours, some of the work behind it requires us to be working 24 hours a day. That means we have to be actually reaching out to companies, doing up estimates, doing up grant proposals. It's actually real experience. And for my course, we're required to do 600 hours work based hours in our field plus the government 600 hours. So we're doing a total of 1,200 hours roughly. And I
Yeah.
can tell you, people
So,
feel
so, so,
overworked.
Shaquani, so you're doing all of this with the hope. It's a lot of stress. I'm listening to you and like, oh my God, I feel so terrible sometimes when I try to hunt you guys down to do things. But Shaquani, I'm saying you're doing all of this, and yet, that in itself is stressful. And then you're still trying to find food to eat, clothes to wear. The cost of living is so high. How are you guys managing? How are your friends managing now? So you told us about your,
Mhm.
the stress at UE and studying and working and trying to get a better job. How are you managing day to day in terms of purchasing stuff and just living with this high cost of living?
What I will say, I don't think people are managing because when you think about how much the minimum wage is, it is almost impossible with your expenses to manage. What I tell people the easiest thing to do is when you go to the supermarket, look for the most reasonable meals that you can create and shop accordingly because a lunch meat is roughly $6 to $7. A small mayonnaise is $8. So even if you want to do the basics, it's expensive. Most people live in extended households, like they live with a lot of people. So you may have to pitch in.
Mm.
When you think
So
about these
hold a minute.
classes,
You're saying that people are not. One time you have people who they're happy to move out and leave mommy and daddy and uncle. People not doing that nowadays.
what would I say? At a period of time, I lived alone and it was expensive. Like I hardly used to be home and my basic water bill was $80. I spent most of my time at work and at school, and I got home most nights around 11 p.m. and my water bill was $80. I'm saying that because That is the basic water bill just because of the sewage tax and the garbage tax on it. So even though you're struggling, you go struggle somewhere because you're paying for things that you don't even know about. A lot of people would love to move out. They would love to own space, but they really cannot afford to. It's really like a 2 bedroom or 3 bedroom house roughly is starting out at $1,500 monthly. Most
Mm-hmm.
landlords are asking persons to pay 3 months. So you're paying deposit, you're paying last month, and you may be paying first month's rent. And then after you do that, if the house is unfurnished, you still have to look for things in the house. So you have to look for stove, you have to look for fridge, and then you have to stock that. And then before you can even think about doing anything, then next month is there, you still have to look for bills. So people would love to move out, but we can't afford to. Like, this economy does not accommodate young people living out from home. I think the government can definitely do something to assist with that because there's so many abandoned buildings that they can retrofit to one-bedroom studios and give special rate to students who want to live out away from home. Because and furnish them because the building is empty either way. Some income is better than no income at all because an empty building is not getting you any money. They're not getting anything from the building being empty. So if they were to create spaces or facilities with multiple studio apartments and roughly between say 800 to maybe even $1,000, all inclusive of everything, that is affordable because then they don't have to look for electricity, internet, water, because if you're going to pay $1,500 and you still have to pay all those things, that means that you're paying more money. People
Mm-hmm.
need more affordable options where they can at least try to attempt to live on their own, but they can't do that based on what they're having. You imagine trying to live on your own, getting paid roughly $450 a week. How you're going to pay rent?
That's
And there's
it.
some people who have to do that, and it's impossible. People talk about, oh, people are not paying the landlords, but sometimes they shouldn't, honestly, they shouldn't even be living outside of the household, but they can't do any better.
Mm.
I know people who can't do any better, who can't live home. But the option to not live at home means that they don't have a house for themselves. They're renting a room. A lot of young people rent rooms. So a room is rented for roughly $200 to $150 weekly. That
So hold
means
a
that
minute.
you're
When you say you rent a room, it's just a room. So a lot of young people, you're saying they're living in a house with strangers. They just rent
with
the room.
strangers. You're living in a
Oh
house with
wow.
strangers and you're renting rooms. So rooms rent between $150 to $200. When you're renting a room, there's no guarantee who you're living with. You're hoping that the landlord would indicate who else is in the household in terms of gender because you will want to feel safe. But
Mm.
sometimes that is not indicated, and people can't do any better because yes, we got an increase in minimum wage, but what happened to a lot of people? They got less hours. So even though you got an increase, you got less hours, so you may be working for even less money than you were working for previously. So it really
Mm-hmm.
didn't help you because how can you say that you're making like the money went up? The money didn't really went up because it went up, but then the employers kind of took it back down. They
Mm.
found a way to pay you less, even though they're technically supposed to be paying you more. Oh, I thought that was a question. But no, it's difficult. And I know that this can't only be for young people because a lot of people is struggling with this basic thing. How to afford living. I know that may seem crazy, but living in Barbados is extremely difficult. Like, I don't think they understand why a lot of young people are opting not to come back after they study because I always ask my friends, what are you coming back for? For a vacation? Because you can't, they're not going to pay you what you need to be paid to pay back your student loan for studying overseas because you can't afford to do that. So it's better if you look for an option overseas if there's an opportunity to work overseas because other than that, you cannot afford to live here. And then you're accustomed to living by yourself overseas. When you come out here, you don't have to go back into a household where you're living underneath your parents and there's rules and you can't do this and you can't do that, even though you're an adult. But you're still expected to follow all of these things where you didn't have to do that when you lived on your own overseas. So I think the transition back home sometimes is really difficult for people who were living abroad overseas studying and then they have to transition coming back home to now all the restrictions where overseas was fast paced. And that is really difficult. That is why a lot of young people don't come back, and they, even when they come back, they look for opportunities back overseas. Like, I know a person who recently just finished their regional nursing exam. And the first thing I told him, get your working experience, specialize in Barbados, look for a job overseas.
Mm,
Because what you're being paid as a nurse, that is nothing. You can stop nursing, you can stop being a nurse and go and teach nursing, and you get paid more money, which is crazy because they do a lot of work also. So imagine after you spend 4 years studying to be a nurse. Maybe some people spend more because you may have to do some additional studying. You get your bachelor's, and your minimum payment starts around $3,000 before NAS or taxes are removed. And that is crazy because some teachers' salaries start at roughly $3,500, $4,000, and it goes up in increments. It's not the same for them. And it is hard. I'm like, how do you even calculate living? Because $3,000 a month is a lot of money. But when you think about basic expenses, you can't really do anything with that money. You can't move out on that money because, say, you take out $1,500 for living, then you have to pay your car payment, which may be like $500 a month for the car. That has nothing to do with insurance. Insurance may be additional $200 monthly. Then you have groceries. If you have children, what are you going to do? So when you calculate, it seems like a whole lot like, oh, I really making money, but then you're not really making money. So then what do you do? How do you work out spending your money? My best advice is if you can stand home and you can handle the pressure of being home, stay home.
mm,
Contribute to your household. It may not be a lot, but talk to your family. Find out what is the appropriate amount that you can afford that they can understand. Even if that is you paying one bill a month, do something like that. The rest of your money, I will say, save a portion of your money, invest a portion of your money into passive income where that requires you to do nothing basically to make that money. What I mean by that, a lot of people online have online stores. That is basically like passive income that you
mm,
really don't have to do
mhm,
anything to make the money besides post. Most young people are on their phones already. So it is basically what they're doing already. So it's just extra. That is how people are
mhm.
really making it. Their side hustles.
Yes.
Their side hustles are keeping them above water. Most people in Barbados have an extra job. They might not think it is an extra job, but they're doing something else to supplement the income that they're not making currently at their
Mhm,
job because they can't afford to live based off what they're working.
mhm. Yes. Yeah. I tell you, Shaquani, this is eye opening. And just hearing you, I just allowed you to just talk because it really is, and you're speaking from your heart. And what you just said a while ago is what I see a lot of people are doing. A lot of smart young people are staying home because they can't afford, though they would want to go out and make life for themselves, they can't afford to leave home at this stage, so they stay home with their parents. Well, Shaquani, we're going to have a lot more of you on Monday when you're going to sit in my chair and you're going to moderate. And we're going to talk about that too. I'm going to help you along. And Monday. So, guys, look up for Shaquani on Monday.
I really
Monday,
see what you're
Monday.
saying.
Yeah, she'll be here with a lot of millennials and Gen Zs will be here with her on Monday. This is their platform. This is so Barbados. Yeah. God bless you, Shaquani. Thank you for coming on.
And thank you for
And
having me.
go,
Good
go
night,
back and get
everybody.
some rest.
Thank you.
All right. Bye bye. Well, this is a moment, guys. This has been really, really, really educational, so far. Very inspirational. I hope you're inspired. I'm inspired. And this is a time, where we ask you to come on and to give your thoughts. And I see there are two persons in the studio, and then there's a guest that I was supposed to have had on, but he was having difficulty coming on. This is Tobias, and but he's in, and we're going to chat. Tobias, just give me a moment, let me get speak to these two persons who came in, and we give each person, if you come in to talk to us about the cost of living, this is a time where you click that link, and I'm gonna put it back on the screen. Take a screenshot of this and click the link and come in and talk to us, or about how are you managing with the high cost of living in Barbados. Adriana Bascom is on, and we have 3 to 5 minutes for him to say that to us tonight. Welcome, Adriana. Yes, go again, please.
Okay, hi. Good evening to all. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear now. Yes, how are
All right.
you? Thanks for coming on. How are you
And
managing with the high cost of living in Barbados? It's 9:05. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
well, how am I managing the high cost of living? It's crazy because sometimes when you have to go in, like for me personally, when I go in the supermarket and you gotta be buying sometimes four things. I went to a very popular supermarket that's well known. I picked up a bag of sugar, flour, and I wanted to get my hands on a couple of tins of tuna. And just those couple of things. Sometimes you're paying for three things, and the amount of money that you're paying for three things is like if you're paying for 25 things. So you can imagine, okay, you going to say the supermarket with $25, you'll be lucky if a dollar left back. You know what I mean? So all these things that not only bother me but bother people in the different supermarkets. Now, I heard you saying earlier that about the taxes and the VAT and all of that. That a lot of promises that were made that were broken. Every promise, basically. Okay, and I'm sure that you remember, and others on here remember, that this is the same administration that when they were in office, they said you cannot tax your way out of a recession. They said that.
Hmm.
You remember that? You remember that? They said you can't tax your way out of a recession. And what have they done? What have they done to all of us? Taxing every minute. Everything you go to purchase, it is taxed. So for me, it hurts me really hard. And I must agree with you. And I want to compliment Shaquani that was on just now. I enjoyed every syllable that came out that young lady's mouth. And I'm looking forward to hearing her and the other guy that was on earlier next week. I want to say that you would have heard Justin. I don't know which economist you spoke to today, but Professor Justin Robinson said that although the inflation, as they were bragging and boasting, gone down by this big percentage, he said that although it gone down, a lot of people, and I'm glad you pointed that out, Marcia, with the examples you were giving, that although the inflationary rate has gone down, once it's over 0%, it is going back up slowly, which means prices are still going back up. But he is saying that the prices are not going back up as fast as they were going up last year, okay, and the year before, between 2021, 22, 23. So although it's going down to the entree, everybody say, oh, the inflationary going down. That means that Marcia can go in and buy 100 set of goods, no problem. She still got a lot of money left back in her purse. Not so, not so at all, right? So, it really hurting me. And as a person, I'm the only person working currently in the house, just me and my, mom. And
Mhm.
the taxes are high. The light bill, I mean, the water bill, it kills me. So when you have to pay these heavy bills, okay, when you have to pay these heavy bills, and then you got to go in the supermarket and the necessary things that you need, you cannot afford because of the high prices. So I
Yes.
asked, but what about the cap? There was supposed to be a cap on prices. What happened there? So there's not really control, so
Yes.
it's
Yes.
hard for
It
everybody.
is. It is tough. It is tough. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Bascom, for
You're
joining us
welcome.
tonight and for sharing with us.
Okay.
We appreciate it.
Keep up
Okay.
the good
Thank you.
work.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Yes. Thank you. I'm seeing very good, Mr. Bascom. I see there's a Chulang here, who's been waiting. Hi, Chulang.
Good night. How are you?
Good night. I am well. I am well. I'm
All right.
well. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir. Good to have you. Good to have you. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you very much. The government can do something to help with the cost of living, but they choose not to.
Mm,
I examine. Sorry, you can't see me much in the light. Because I'm in my room and somebody's sleeping.
that's okay.
Good. Um, the government charges duties and VAT on freight,
Mm-hmm.
international freight. But international freight is a service, not a
Mm,
product.
mm-hmm.
Why should I pay 40% duties on freight for goods that I bring in? Right? So the government can relax the duties and the VAT on international freight because that's paid at the port,
Mm-hmm.
right? But they choose not to, or they could put it for a time because the cry from the business people is the freight is high. Then the freight gets duty, then the freight gets VAT. This called freight on board. I would know because I got a little side hustle
Mm-hmm.
and I import things. And although my freight may be smaller than our beds, I still pay duties and VAT on the freight. But it's a
Right.
service. It's a service, not a product.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
The second problem that I got is that there are too many middle people between the supermarket and the importer. And each time each person has to charge VAT to the person in front of them. So the importer part to the distributor
Mm-hmm.
VAT, distributor part charges supermarket VAT, then
That.
supermarket charges me VAT, right? So you're getting compound VAT being added
Mm-hmm.
to the price of the product, right? When we had that everything was paid at the port, you just put your markup and you go through. So that has also caused the price to go up as well. We need to encourage some of these big businesses to get rid of some of these middle people. Why do I have to buy from Massey, Spring Garden, selling food in Massey store? Let me go again. Massey Spring Garden food belongs to Massey, selling
Yeah.
food in Massey store.
Mm-hmm.
They gonna charge VAT. Massey Spring Garden gonna collect VAT from Massey store, and then Massey can pass it on to me and you in the supermarket,
Yeah. Oh boy.
right? And then there's taxes which the government can stop. You can stop the storage tax. You fix the problem. What you want the money for?
Mm-hmm.
The problem
Mm-hmm.
has been fixed. You borrow money to fix the problem too.
You,
Why
you,
you
you,
continue? Why you continuing to tax me and borrow money to fix the problem too? You getting money from me to fix the problem and borrowing money. So yeah. Because you see, this government, I have no part of what I'm gonna say. This government does not know how to be a government to raise money. They do not know how to get projects off the ground. You start 4 seasons. You start the project in Bridgetown, which requirements round building. Where is it? You went to court, you start the LP. You're in the government, you say you start project. 5 years after, where's the project? So if we want to depend on direct investment from persons outside to bring money into the economy and then turn the money around, you have to become more flexible. You have to remove the red tape and get these things going because the problem in Barbados is government does not create the avenue for job creation.
mm-hmm.
Job creation increases cash flow in the microeconomy, right? It gives people more money to spend and it can make the cost of living easier. It also increases the likelihood for self-employment because if you got more self-employment, even although the income may not be as high as somebody employed, right? That
Yes.
person still feels comfortable, they could do for themselves, right? And they can look for that money coming in. But when you start the man at the selling
Example, picture that city room and making money because everybody can't afford it extra thing when the week come. Becomes unemployed. So you need to
Wow.
create jobs. People have money to spend, and that's the problem. As for
Yeah.
me, um, further about give God to the Creator God. I
One
give thanks
one
to the
more
Creator.
minute. One more minute you have. Go
Right.
ahead.
I give thanks to the Creator God for the wisdom He has given to me
Mm-hmm.
to be able to take what I receive and manage it well with me, my wife, my stepchildren, and grandchildren. There are about 10 of us. And right now, it's only myself and my stepson was working, right? And even although it's rough, I try to squeeze up a little bit to give somebody a hand.
Yeah.
My only concern is that, and with many Bajans, we cannot eat as healthy as we want to.
Mm.
We cannot eat as healthy as we want to because you want to buy the vegetables, but you buy too much vegetables, but the amount of vegetables you want. The other things you need to put with it, you can't buy. And the other thing
Yes.
be the other thing in a little bit more low cost than the vegetables. So you buy little vegetables and more the other stuff, which is too much of it will be unhealthy for you. All right. Thank you
Unhealthy.
very
Yeah.
much for your time.
Yes. Well, Chalong, you spoke a lot of facts there. It's great to have you on. I hope you come back some other time.
All right. Okay then.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, and all the best. All the best. I see I see Tobias here, but he seemed to be having some problems with the internet. It seems to me. I'm not sure what is happening here, but okay, he's back again. Let me see if we can get him on. Good night, good night, Mr. Worrell. Good night, Tobias. Mm, he's having challenges. Mm, mm. Yes, I thought that he was, as he was saying, it's hard for him to eat healthy. He was saying he lives, and it's a lot, all of them live together. And you're finding a lot of that is happening. And people are living together, and it's wise to live together. And I'm going to ask so the people in the chat, let us not speak disparaging of anybody. The gentleman comes on and he's living with his mom, he's taking care of his mother. And so I want to say to us that, let us live, let us be kind. It is a way to save money, and it is important in this day that you be able to survive and take care of your loved ones. Okay. um yeah. So I'm sorry that I want to hear from Mr. Tobias Worrell tonight, but he seemed to be having some challenges. No, is anybody else coming to join me? Who is coming to join me here tonight? Listen, Barbadians, don't do it, my Bajan people. Remember, when we lose our fare, they lose their power. When we lose our fare, they lose their power. And that's what's happening tonight. We're coming on, we're talking, we're letting it be known how we feel about things, how what we're experiencing. We heard from the millennials. We want to hear from everybody. What are your experiences with this high cost of living here in Barbados? What's happening in your household? You don't have to put on your camera. You don't have to put your correct name. You can use an alias, make up something, and come on and let us let's chat. Let's chat. Come on, lose the fear. Lose the fear. The other night we had so many of you on. Huh? Lose the fear. Judy Jill said the ministers are driving Mercedes and the poor people can't even drive a box cart. Feeling for the poor. Let me Tobias is still trying. Let me ask you something, guys. Okay, let's see. Okay. Do you think, would you agree that the middle class is being wiped out, and that we're seeing an emerging working poor? That is what we are seeing, a working poor, the working poor. What are your thoughts about that? What are your thoughts about that? And why is it that nobody's in the studio with me tonight? What's going on? Do you want, I know what it is. You want to see the link again, right? Here's the link again. Here's the link. Yes, and you come in, man, come on in, come on in, come on in. Yes, to the working poor. Is that what we're seeing? Is that what we're seeing? I'm looking, reading the chat. This is your time. This is your show, and it's your time. I want to hear what you have to say. Let me check my phone here. Somebody says, good night, Marcia. The garbage cans were purchased to hide the garbage. Garbage is picked up in Trinidad 3 times per week. It is true. It is so true. I stayed in Trinidad for a couple of weeks with my son as he was getting set up there. And they were coming for the garbage like 3-4 times a week. I was shocked. I was really, really shocked. And that's a bigger country. And they said the PM and Rowley are enough friends. Maybe she should tell her how to get the garbage collected. This person said, I inquired at the bank about a mortgage for someone who lives in Barbados but works remotely. The bank does not recognize the external employer. So it's true what the guy is saying, and I said it last night. They don't know how to create the climate for jobs. Yes? Somebody here telling me that onions are scarce. Onions are scarce? Wow. Tomorrow night we have Mr. James Paul, who is with the Ministry of Agriculture and advocating for us getting more involved in agriculture. He is coming on, so we're going to talk about some of these things to him. We're going to make some of these comments to him. Yes, nobody else is coming in tonight. What happened? Somebody's asking why after student nurses become a nurse after 4 years, they're only getting $3,000 average. And I showed you all that if that person has children, they will have to find a side hustle. Now, let's talk about some of these side hustles that's going on. Some of these side hustles are not even illegal activities. We know about the men who are getting into a lot of drugs, although women are selling drugs as well. But do you know that there are lots of women? I got a message last night and someone I spoke to today, a lot of our women are getting into prostitution. Yeah. A lot of our young women are going into prostitution. A lot of them, that's a side hustle, because now you take a nurse here. She goes to study for 4 years and she's getting $3,000 average. She has to pay rent. Remember, I showed you the breakdown from last night. It's over $4,000 if she's supposed to have children. How does she supplement her income? I'm not advocating that she does prostitution, but I'm saying that there are people that's what they do. I remember talking to someone, she has 2 children actually, and going through a rough time. And she said, ma'am, I really am thinking about prostitution. She said, sometimes I think because I get the offers. She told me. She said that sometimes I think about it. The arbitrary people, or she said sometimes even the landlord says, well, if you do a little thing with me here, then you don't have to pay the rent. And women are finding themselves in these kind of situations more and more because they have children. They have to eat. They have to pay the rent. They have to pay the car loan, or they have to pay for gas. They have to pay bus fare. Yes. Somebody's saying here that a bachelor for nurses should be more than 3,000. Is it really $3,000 that nurses are getting? No, if that is the case, no wonder they will have to leave, because they really cannot live. They will have to stay with their parents. And to have children, how are you going to have children? How are you going to take care of them? Right? That's what I'm saying. I'm all for having children. I believe that we need to procreate. We need to have children. But how are you going to take care of them? Even with that, I mean, they don't think that they could do some kind of tax credit or do something that is tangible for parents. If you have children, well, you get this amount of money or something like that. Why don't we do some kind of grant, some kind of something? I can't remember the right term for it. Right? For people, for women, for children, those who have children. How are you going to, yeah? 4,500 for a teacher. So all of her salary or his salary will go towards bills. You see? Yes, I understand with the child allowance, if you're making a certain amount of money and you have to pay taxes. What I'm saying is that there are some countries where they are going to give you, when you have children, you get some money. It's not a grant. I can't remember the correct name for it, right? Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. The police start at 2,300. Now, when you have these people that, your police, you're paying them, this it's so low. When that's why they're asking, they need more people in the police force. People going to be working for this amount of money. Anybody working for this amount of money, as SHAQUANI is saying, a lot of them are going to end up what? A lot of them are going to end up, renting a room in a house. Yeah. They end up renting a room in a house. It's teachers low paying, being paid low. Nurses are being paid $3,000, right? Yes, a child benefit. Thank you, Bajan Brit. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of people can't strike out on their own. They will have to stay home. They will have to stay home, and it's hard. I mean, they're saying that we need to increase the population. How we're going to do that? How are we going to do that? Where will the money to pay the people to have? Do you know how much taxes we're paying? And we don't know where the taxes, where we're going with these taxes. If you remove something like the road tax, you said you're going to remove the road tax, and now you're ending up getting more taxes from the petrol, the gas tax, right? You're getting more from the tax that you replaced it with. You see what I'm saying? That what we need, some kind of accountability. Something, you can't be borrowing and then add so much money, and you're burdening us with so much taxes. And so this person said, where are you going to get the money from to give the child benefit? From the taxes. Find a way. 3,000 before the NIS and tax. What do you think people are going to do? They're going to have to find a side hustle, and what it affects their health because they're stressed, right? Okay. That is what Mr. Thorne is trying to do, Kim, through the Public Accounts Committee, trying to see how our money is being spent. But these are saying that they do not want those items on the agenda. They don't want those on the agenda on the current agenda. They want it for whenever years down the road, probably after they leave office. That is the kind of thing that they're doing, all kind of politicking, so that they're not held accountable. But it's our money. It's our tax money. Yeah. Jabbar Darnell is saying, Jabbar, can you come in and talk to us? I don't know. Anybody can confirm what he's saying? I have not researched this, Jabbar, but he's been saying a lot of very he's presenting a lot of economic theories and answers and research. I've been reading his stuff, Jabbar Darendel. Can you use the link, Jabbar, and come in and talk to me? You said right now Barbados dollar is valued at 35 cents per dollar because of the taxes, the high cost of living. He says, wake up and see that the taxes on the household bills alone, people 65 years and over looking for work now, is so true. I have a friend who is planning to retire, and she's trying to find work to how she's going to sustain herself when she's retired. Yeah. You won't come on, so I'm reading your comments. Adrian Hines is saying living at home is a better option. I agree. You know, he said my son lives at home with me, and I saved a significant amount of money that he would have otherwise spent to strike out on his own. You know, work with it. You know, it's difficult sometimes because, you know, we all are now adults in this house, not children anymore. But what are they going to do? The rent is high, the food bill is high. What are they going to do? Become homeless? Well, it's not they're planning to have another election. That is what we're being told. And the thing about it, I heard them bragging that they're going to win again and get all seats. Abraham Millington, that's what is being said. Ryan Rock said that this government had no plans to lower anything for us. They were in bed with the IMF even before being in power. So they knew what they were up to. All the other governments tried their best not to go to the IMF. All the other governments, they tried. Right? And I think there was one that did a little something, but they tried to pay it back quickly. Right? But they were not in bed like this government with the IMF. But what I realized with this government, they are quick fixers. They are quick fixers. And you could say all that you want about the other governments that were there, but what they were trying to protect us from something. Owen Arthur was trying to protect us from something from these days. He was protecting us so we don't eat dirt. Sandiford was protecting us. Arthur was protecting us. All of these prime ministers that went before, from the Stewart, all of them were trying to protect us. But no, not her. Not this government. As soon as they didn't even get in properly yet, she was on that platform when she was accepting, when she was declared the winner, and she was talking about the IMF on that platform. Unless Hurricane Writer said, unless Bajans get up and force the government to address the composition of PAC and balance its makeup, then nothing is going to happen. Unless Bajans wake up, period. Bajans need to wake up, period. Now, let's jump in here and let me see. I don't know if Dave is able to show a little bit of this video that people are passing around. If not, I'm going to have to try to show it myself. Let me see. I'm not sure if he's there if he's able to show it, because I'm going a little off script because we don't have enough people coming on, but I could try to show it. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's going to happen. But I wanted to talk a little bit about this this video that is going around. And this is a video for those of you who didn't see it. It is by an American geologist. And he was speaking about the oil that is off the coast of Barbados. And he's saying that there's so much oil, right? He's saying that there is so much oil that it is seeping up through the ground. This is what this American geologist is saying. That we have so much oil that is coming out of the ground itself. And he's saying that this is he says this is a blessing for this country. It's that Barbados is a small, unique island, right? And that has active onshore oil and gas industry due to its very unique geology. Unique economic asset is this oil. Now, if you remember, about 3 years ago, this government came to us and they said that they're going to do some exploration. You remember that? They came to us 3 years ago and they said that they were going to do some exploration. And I mean, because if we do have oil, as Guyana now, they have oil, and not that it is benefiting the people there much, you know, because they have corrupt politicians, right? But the countries in the Caribbean that's supposed to have oil are Trinidad, of course, Guyana, Cuba, and Barbados. Did you hear that? Now that you can go and look on the internet. It's Guyana, it's Trinidad, Guyana, Trinidad, Cuba, Barbados. And of this government, along with other governments in the past, you know, everybody comes and they're making all these promises. And this government said that they are going to do some exploration. And in fact, they said that they have started and that it looks promising. Okay. And in fact, in the Amsterdam News, I saw this article today because I started to do some research. It says Barbados thinks it will soon find oil, right? And it says in the last 8 years, two of the Caribbean community's largest, most resource-rich countries, Guyana and Suriname, have found extremely large deposits of offshore oil and gas, setting the stage for massive economic transformation of a kind that could be the envy of its regional neighbors. One of the two world-class deposits of oil and gas were discovered in Guyana back in 2015. The amount was so large, the crude so light and so cheap to produce, that an international consortium led by U.S. supermajor ExxonMobil broke all records by rushing into actual production by the end of 2019, less than 5 years after the first discovery. Experts say this was probably an industry record for field development in deep sea waters. They are already raking in billions. Stockholders are enjoying a windfall. Wow. Right? But just last week, authorities, they're saying this is Amsterdam News in New York, saying just last week, authorities in Barbados gave the strongest indication yet that it is looking at a similar type of economic transformation in the near future through commercial discoveries. Barbadian Senator Minister Kerry Simmons said that the prospects of such a find have never been higher, as several blocks officials are confident that larger deposits of hydrocarbons have been identified. This is what is said. And this article, when was this article put in the Amsterdam News? On March the 2nd, 2023. Last year. But they have started to talk to us about oil and drilling from 3 years ago, and each time they're saying that they're getting closer. And could this be the answer for Barbados? What are your thoughts about this? In fact, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they were saying that, being very happy that they soon will be able to buy oil from Barbados. And I was thinking, hold a minute, so where are we in all of this? When did we know about all of this? I mean, we hear that they're drilling, that they're exploring. You know, is it enough that to take us out of this economic hole that we're in? I want to hear your thoughts about that. And is it that they have found it? Is that enough? And is it that what's happening to it? I know a lot of people say they're very suspicious. And you know, some people say, oh, you guys have gone off in conspiracy theories. Well, people go off on these things because they don't trust the government. That's the problem. We don't trust the government. So when we hear about oil and that they're saying they're exploring, and then this American comes and says that we have, you know, let's listen a little bit about this guy. Dave, if you can start from about, I think it's about 11 minutes in. Yes.
Down inside the guts of that mountain range is where the oil and gas is forming. And the depth illustrated here is going to be 4 to 7 kilometers. So it's going to be 2.5 miles to a little bit over 4 miles, maybe even deeper than that, maybe a little bit shallower. It all depends on how quickly temperature increases with depth. One way or another, it's miles below the surface. Out here, you can't do oil and gas. The sediment burial isn't thick enough. Where the pile is really thick, though, it's very much good to go over there, right? So interesting way to think about what's going on down underneath you. Interesting way to think about where those materials come from. But you can actually do better than just drawing that. And let me move my...
So, Dave, if you pause and let me just say something.
You can actually make...
So he's saying here where you see that dark brown, he's saying all of that is oil. Okay? He's saying that is oil that is right there, and that it is so much that it's seeping out. So right at the very tip, I don't know if you're going to be able to see. I don't think you're going to be able to see my cursor. But at that where you see that the dark brown, and then you see a little green, like a little mountain there, that's Barbados, right, sitting right on top of there. Okay, and yes, thank you, Dave, right there. And he's saying that the oil is actually there at the brown area is where the oil is, and that it's quite a bit of oil. And it is so much there that it is seeping out. And he's saying that this is so unusual, that this is happening. And that this is basically a gold mine. And, and he's actually saying that, let me look for my notes here because I want to make sure I'm speaking truth. He's saying that there is an active offshore oil and gas industry. So we would love to get some clarity from our government. We need to press them on this, because we don't want to hear that some of this gets sell off, right? And then I agree, Jeannie Motley, that I don't understand how she's going to be the climate change champion and then she's drilling for oil. Unless in her mind, she know that the climate change thing is a hoax. Is she, the question could be, in the same way we had that big vaccine scam, is she scamming them too? Does she know in her mind this whole thing is a hoax, and she here exploring for oil in Barbados? Is it why they can't come out publicly and say it really big? Now, having oil is a good thing. I don't have a problem with oil. You understand? Because all of these big nations, they have I think I'm seeing Tobias, so we're gonna, but let me just let me see what anybody else is saying about this. Yeah, it would be great to interview that geologist. It would be fantastic. Yeah. As I said, oil has been discovered ever since. Yeah, so wow. Uh-huh. Okay, a Guy Fox says he doesn't believe that there's any oil seeping through any ground in Barbados. You don't? Do you think we have oil, Guy Fox? Because the government is saying that they found oil, and that and my little research that I've done on it, not a lot, is that what they said, it's that there are 4 countries in the Caribbean, and it's Guyana, Trinidad, Cuba, and Barbados. Yeah. Yes, I would love to be able to get him on the program for sure. For sure. For sure. For sure. For sure. Okay, somebody's saying there's oil and gas in Joe's River. Ryan, I am telling you, Ryan Rock, that is a message I'm getting all day. I think Tobias is ready for us. Okay, so Tobias, turn off the other, come off of the other one. Okay, so remove, let me try. I'm going to put you, remove you from the studio with the other one, so that it doesn't, we don't get that feedback. I'm sorry, Ryan Rock. You are so correct. You said, Marcia, you said it is a blessing, but I am telling you, it can be a curse, especially with this group. I tell you, I tell you, because of just how these people are. You don't know what they're going to do. Yeah. Wow. Let me save me some Worrell. If we're finally gonna hear him, we have 15 minutes left in the show, and he has been trying to get on. Good night, Mr. Worrell.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you now, loud and clear. Yes.
Very good. Wow.
We're not
Shall
seeing
we
you
start
though.
with the oil? Shall we start with the oil?
Yes, start with the oil. We have 15 minutes. Take it away.
So I
Take it
just
away.
got 4
We are
minutes.
talking
I got
about
4 today.
but stick to cost of living and tie back the oil with the cost of living and the economy. Go ahead.
Let's go with the cost of living first. Look, the Barbados is now number 5 in the entire world. 166 square miles. But what has happened is you got a government that painted a story that we are 5-star. We punch again above our weight. We are living, therefore, above our means. And that has caused us not to shout, because we can't shout if we want to be upwardly mobile. So there's a social attachment to it that silences us. So what is happening? We are finding ourselves, in order to make ends meet, the savannah is becoming a place of business and other places. No country, no people should have to find a place out there when a government who is charged with the responsibility of making sure that we can live is not doing it. And this runs into that oil. Because let's not fool ourselves. Mayor Motley already know there's oil. We found oil in July or September of 1970. There are about 6 cases in court where oil was found on some people. That's how I'm going to call it, but I'm very familiar with it, where oil was found on their lands, and their, the title and ownership and all this is being fought out as we speak for the last 8.5 years. Mayor Mortley knows about this oil. The geologist is just exposing it. Now, how do we work with it? What you are doing right now, Miss Weeks. Keeping it busy, keeping it on the front burner, because Mayor Mortley is making deals out there. And just like Guyana, whose potential to take its country to the mountaintop, except that they're a bunch of crooks in government, look out, Barbados, we may be suffering the same thing. But this is where we're at, and we're at this place because we got policies in place that do not address our condition. They are not trying to lift us up, but they'll put the psychological bubble on you. You're a 5-star state. You're punching against higher than your weight. Yeah. So you are so much better off than you think. While all the while, look at the people that have brought cases. There is now a crazy one coming up where this guy is supposed to do some things, and 7 of those people have good paying jobs and should never have been in this situation that is now on the table.
Can you explain what are you talking about? You said I don't know. I don't understand what you're saying there. What cases?
Well, they just arrested a young man having to do with some situations, and you remember that, or you don't know that?
Ah, okay, yes.
Yeah. 7 of those people in there are very well paid people in their jobs. But when you are trying to live above your means, when you are going after the goal, as it were, we are now doing any and everything to maintain. Look, all you need is 5 years of experience to know that 90% of Barbadians are in trouble. A car boat here that sells for, say, $20,000 in America is selling for $120,000, $140,000, $150,000, and we're buying it. All because we don't have a proper bus system, but we have more units on the road than we need. So when you start putting all this together, look at rent. Rent is moving from $9,000 to $2,000 to $3,000, and you ain't get to the bills yet. Very few people are making $7,000, $8,000 when the month comes. It doesn't take an expert to know that we're living above our means, and we are in a position where things are extremely tight. But we got to carry the face. We got to look right. And this is the worst part of our life today, because we are now living make-believe. We can't shout now. Even your show, here's a program that is telling Barbadians, come on, let us hear, let Barbadians hear how hard it is for you. And they're not. Why? Because they can't dare tell none of us, oh, things are tough with us. No, make-believe is taking its place. And this is where we are going. With our oil, you got to step up your game, Miss Weeks, because you got to stay more vigilant than anything, because that oil can find itself in the hands of other people. Oil that should develop Barbados and make life easy for Barbadians, that oil will most likely go away, and we get a 10%, a 20% deal out of it. So it's going to take people like you, your program, and keep the matter on the front burner, and keep asking the government, what is the oil situation? What is the status? Where are we? Otherwise, there's going to be a deal that Megan used to slam dunk and to keep on going forward. And so, where are we? We are going to be where the Marcia Weeks is and the others can take us and to keep us on the front burner and to keep pushing, because Barbadians, for some reason, they've gone silent. And we know they're suffering silently. We know what our tax bill looks like. We know what the mortgage looks like. We know what a car looks like, the car payment, gas, and we ain't talk about sewage and all those other things. We simply can't afford it, and it is time we hold the government to account. And these are the kinds
So,
of programs like yours. Thank God you're leading the pack. We need these to help pull Barbadians out. I think it's going to be a long process, but I believe with everything that's in me, they are
yes.
going to come forward. I believe this.
But Tobias, so well said.
Uh-huh.
I could listen to you. I love your voice. Listen, Tobias, let
Thank
me
you.
ask you something. Talk to me about it. We were speaking today. Talk to me about the housing sector. I know we can't see you, but we're hearing you loud and clear. I didn't even bother to say anything to you about that, but that's okay. Once we can hear you, talk to me about the housing sector, because you're a businessman, you're a realtor, you're in real estate, you're also a tax accountant. But talk to us about what is happening in the housing sector, how you see the high cost of living playing out in the housing sector.
Well, what's happening is you have a situation where government is shifting all the assets away from the masses of people and into these groups, which I call gangs in other places. For example, national housing used to provide us with some very decent housing. You go to the farm, go to Ferniehurst, go to Rosemont, and all around, you will find a good 3-bedroom house and everything else, and people can live. Now you go to Bagatelle, go to that place there, Christchurch, where you got these little things that you got to bend down to get into. And then on top of this, now we have hope, which, by the way, the Prime Minister has already said that there's corruption in there. These are the people that they took 15,000 house spots from national housing and brought over to them. Now, what are they doing? Each of their houses, according to their billboard, they are building 4,000 square foot houses. Now, mine is 43. A 4,000 is a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, easily. Do the math. You're not dealing with a $400,000, $200,000 house. You're dealing in the millions. And if you're dealing in the millions, you're attracting people from overseas. So you're not creating an affordable housing plan for Barbadians. And if you look at all that is going on, even the rent, there's need for rent controls in Barbados badly. It is not happening. Why? Because, see, you can't get in with these people and then say to them, hey, you got to ease up. We can get this thing under control, but we need different leadership. Now, housing, as long as housing is going there, first of all, you got to live there. I think you stay home as long as you can. But that's a hard thing to tell people who've gone to school, try to learn, get a skill, and then you tell them goodbye. The mother and the father are adults doing adult things. You are an adult, and somehow that becomes a little queasy, because how do I function like an adult in my mother's place? You know, we ought to be able, mind you, out of those 15,000 house spots, if you remember the guy in charge, he said that some of them had water, some of them had light. So what was the situation? The people from overseas had already started putting in the utilities in their house. That's what you put in before you start laying foundation and everything else.
Right.
So then you take that from them, give it to Hope from National Housing. Now, National Housing did not have a profit margin focus. They had a provision of housing for the people of Barbados. Now you took it and you give it to Hope. Who is Hope? The Adams, the Hoyers, and all of them. And if you look at that crowd at Hope, you're going to find them also with their life insurance investment companies. One is life insurance and one is investment. And all of them are sitting on these two other companies. So it is like just taking all of this and putting it in there, calling it a social partnership. There's no social partnership. Very few houses in Barbados is 4,000 square feet. Who will buy them? Not Barbadians. See, so when you look at what is happening, and if the Prime Minister herself could acknowledge that corruption has already started and taken place. Of course, she hasn't tell us when the investigation will begin, but she's at least acknowledged that there is trouble in the camp.
Yeah.
And she has not shut it down, at least temporarily. See, so the problem we have is that all of these people are in bed with each other. And this is all about money for them. Look at the gifts that were given away to 27 acres of land up the road and on, and nobody is building to pass on the benefit for the people.
Yes.
See, because
But
if
Tobias,
you can give me two,
Tobias, you
Go
said
ahead.
something. You said something to me today, in terms of houses, that you're finding a lot of people are selling. A lot of people are selling their homes.
Well, there's a
why
reason
is
for
that?
There's a reason for that. The cost of living is prohibitive. If you remember when we went overseas and we encouraged Barbadians to come home, a good few of them were receptive to the idea. But what they don't tell you is that 60% of them got back on planes and went back. And many of them said the cost of living is too hard and too rough. Then you got here jobs. You got go to the QEH, nurses, and all those people that can virtually double their income just by getting on a plane.
Yeah.
See, so what we have done, we are creating the conditions where we are losing our brain, we are losing our skill sets, we are losing all the people that we need to keep building this country. And until we come to terms with the idea that this is not a government that is sensitive to that, I'm not going to deal with government stealing, because government steal. They got human beings and they're looking to get back some of their money. But at least do the most for the most people in the country. And when you start losing as many people as we are, and then opening the doors to Jamaica and Haiti and everybody else, previously they can do 6 months. Now they can come here without any real paperwork, anything of the sort, and they can take their place in our country. What is to stop them? If you go around Hastings and go right up, Barbados is losing Barbados. And we can't do it nowhere else. And because it's of our leadership. For example, look at oil in the Caribbean. Do you know all the people in the Caribbean, all 14 members in the Caribbean, are using the same oil except one of them? And all of it, Barbados is paying almost $3 more per gallon than anybody in the Caribbean. Same oil.
Why?
Exactly. What is happening to cause these things to be more expensive to us than to others, and we are all using the same things? But you have a government from day one that has not been the transparent that they said they would have been. And too many deals are made in the back room, too many backs still have to be scratched, and consequently, let me say that to you. Do you know the IMF in 2020, June 2020, said that Barbados did not need to come to them? Do you know they said that we had enough reserves in Barbados
When was
to
this?
cover the problems we had? It's in their report. And where they said all we had to do is to go to Parliament, pass the relevant legislation, and we have access to 81% of the funds that were there. But as you
So
know,
hold
by
a
the
minute.
time
When was this said? When was this said?
June 2020, that
So
edition.
I would love to. I would love to see that, because I think we need to.
I can
Tobias,
fax you a copy.
I would love for you to come back on, as soon as probably Wednesday, and let us go through to stuff like that. But continue. I'm going to give you, because I know you are trying very hard. So I'll give you another 5 minutes. Go on. Go ahead.
Thanks a million. I'll take two. So we have situations where, for example, before we look, the Prime Minister went on in an interview and said 16 seats too many, 12 sufficient. And in 3 weeks, did 26. The prime minister, after 7 years, did 7-8 trips overseas. Too many. And in these first 18 months, she more than quadrupled that number. So from day one, we have been fed a lot. And thanks for you, we are where we are today because you have opened a peephole and people are gradually coming in. But we have been bamboozled throughout this whole time. And the silence has lent its effort to keep those people doing exactly what they were doing. But how are you going to tell the private fellow? Don't forget the government march with the private people against the very workers. So how are you going to come back now and say to them, back off? Now, don't forget, they had that. Millions of dollars that belong to us as we shop with them. And the prime minister said, keep it. Then you move your corporation tax, which is good money coming in, and you bring it down to 4 or 5%. So let's assume you make $1,000. All you owe Barbados is $40. But you're working in Barbados, making a profit in Barbados, getting concessions in Barbados, and everything else. All your import concessions, everything. But you don't have a responsibility to add and contribute to what is going on. So when you look, because it is not a simple issue where you just look for one issue to discuss and to solve the problem. The problem is a big problem. And it has to do, look, you see that, you remember they promised you that VAT was coming down from 17, and I think it is 17.5. I may be wrong, but I know it is a little piece more. You see, so we are where we are because we now have to get up as the people of Barbados and decide enough is enough.
Yes.
We have to get up and say, hey, no, this is not what we voted for. Yes, we voted you in. You legitimately voted in. We are not arguing that. We are saying to you that this is not what we signed up for. Let me show you something that should be a big, big deal. If you look at the budget just gone, $188 million right directly to Mayor Mortley's, if you want to call it, ministry. And nobody knows how that is going to go because that had nothing to do with the vote for the Ministry of Finance. That is in addition to what those ministries were getting. Almost $190 million. What government you know is take a whole crowd of people to Dubai? 57 of them. Whose money are they spending? And then you come back and you say, we are all in it together. No, we are not. No, we are not. We are the strugglers. See, so a lot of stuff has been used. Look, we are in a position today where we need to see clearer. This oil message is a good message, but oil was around here for a while.
Yes.
Now, I am hoping that with his thing, and it would be good if you can get him on here, with his declaration now, I am hoping that it alerts us to be vigilant and to make sure. Because look, China is already here. America is already here. And these people are coming in because Barbados is their place where they do what they want. So it's going to be our vigilance that is going to have to push things back and bring some level of equality, some level of livelihood to the people of Barbados. It is a sad thing. You know, we got hundreds of people out there with degrees without a job, and we are telling them be entrepreneurs. Come on. Entrepreneurship in any country runs about 15-20%. Everybody doesn't want to be an entrepreneur. You know, so we have got to do better than we're doing. Yes. Of course, we followed some plans which reduced the public service, which was a big mistake. You know, and so we got people out there. Because now you go into the public, when you go into a government office, you might as well give up 5 hours of your day. You know, because there will be that delay. So it's a question of us getting up. And I think it's more so being aware. You see those marches that you did? then we're
That we
special.
need to continue to do.
We
We need to
need to
continue
get
those
back on
marches.
the road every day.
Yeah.
You see, because the people are wondering, is this just for today? Once they start to see consistency, once they start to see that, hey, there is business to be transacted, they are going to come out. Some of them may stand by the side of the road, but that's all right. See, but we have got now to take back our country.
Yes, we have to. And Tobias,
Thank you
I
so
would
very
love
much for
to.
having me. It
I
was a
want to
struggle,
invite
but
you
it's
back.
better than
The people are very, very you know, they're loving what you're saying, and we'd love to invite you back. And you know, we will talk off air to see when you're able to come back on. And
Oh, no problem. I'll be good.
repeat,
I'll
please.
be home on Wednesday, actually.
Yes, okay, wonderful. So we can have you back on Wednesday. And you know, folks, I just want to say to everybody who is listening, thank you so much for logging on, for sharing, for liking. We need you to do that. This is your show. Okay, I want you to understand that this is your show. This is when we come and we set up, it's for you, and when we ask you to come on, it's for you. We want you to lose that shyness, lose the fear, right, and to come on and to speak up. They are banking on that you're going to suffer in silence. They believe you're going to suffer in silence, and once you suffer, they're happy when you're silent about it. They are not expecting you to speak out. You see? So you're gonna trigger it. Do the opposite of what they expect of you. Start to speak out. It's gonna shock them. When we lose our fear, they lose their power. It's shocking them. Like, wow, Bejan speaking out. What? They're actually doing that? Oh my goodness! Do you see how the speaking out caused even the CEO to come and get an interview in the Nation newspaper, and the Minister of Culture had a press I don't know what she had at CBC today, because people are speaking out. We are the opposition, okay, and that's what this show is all about. I want to thank Don Leck for coming on, a young man, very promising young man, SHAQUANI, also for coming on. I want to thank them tonight, Dave, for all the work that he does behind the scenes. And thank you all for joining tonight and staying with us tonight, and continue to share. Continue, send me the stuff. I want to say quickly, watch what's happening at the hospital. I'm getting a lot of stuff from the hospital. Watch what is happening at the hospital. Open your eyes, Barbadians. And we're ready for them. The moment they come and bring those rules that they're setting in the hospitals over this virus business, we're watching them and waiting on them. You understand? We're waiting on them. We're watching, but we're not. We're making sure. You know how we like to do things on this show. We don't want to go with conspiracy theory. We want to get as much information as we can and as much research. Okay, and we're watching what's happening out there at the QA. So don't worry. And we're going to, yeah, you keep watching. All right. They dare not bring that outside of that hospital and tell us we have to do that. Right. We are going to wait and see. All right. Folks, thank you so much. I know Dave has songs to play. I'm going to let him choose what songs he wants to play before we close tonight. Tobias, thank you so much for joining. Okay, what Dave, what are we playing to move out tonight? Okay. Probably nothing. We're not playing anything. No, man. We're gonna they're gonna hurt me if we have to play something. I know something was coming.
Sometimes I feel like the bill's gonna kill me, but I'm still holding on, I'm standing strong. With the love soca give me, cause when I hit on the road, I get to the show, I jump on the stage. When I see your face, I run on the soca, lashing me bread. The lovely problem just vanish away, because right now, soca make me jump up, back and all in me bed. Setting make me walk up, liquor just ease the bed.
What is it that Lyric is telling Barbadians, but is not saying? Did you hear him? Listen again carefully.
So come make me jump up, back and I lay me bed. Sweating make me walk up. Look at us, ease the bed, ease the bed, ease the bed, ease the bed.
Do you get it now? Rick is talking about the suffering of the Belgian people. But who is responsible for the suffering of the people? The government. This is why Barbadians love to party. They drown out their pain, the drinks numbs their brain and their pain vanish away. Is there a segment who numb their pain with drugs and guns? Whatever it is, Belgians are in pain and therefore they need to change their leaders, this government. Rick is saying it. Did you hear?
With the love soca give me. Cause when I hit on the road, I get to the show and jump on the stage. When I see your face, I run on the soca, lashing me bread. The love me problem just vanish away.
Promise us a better tomorrow. Tell me that the suffering done. Me attack the vote and let me down. Me attack the vote and let me down. She did only want little dealing, big contracts and not corruption. Me attack the vote and let me down. Me attack the vote and let me down. Barbados is too small for me. My pocket full, now you and job they promise me. And a girl like me want power and more money. You cry transparency, but that's a no for me. Promise us a better tomorrow. Tell me that it's suffering done. Me attack the vote and let me down. Me attack the vote and let me down. She did only want little dealing, big contracts and not corruption. Me attack the vote and let me down. Me attack the vote and let me down.
I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. Good at maths nor English. English. Pretending to be good. I pretending to be good. Just pretending to be good. I pretending to be good. I just pretending to care about people. 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 Pretending. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people.
Wow. Good night, Barbados. Have a great night. And we see you again on Wednesday. Enjoy.